in the good condition category, but it's on the lower end. It needs continued maintenance to avoid further decline. Okay, so 52 is just an average. As Alyssa said, some of the streets are in great condition while others need immediate attention. So there are about 2 miles of streets in excellent condition, 15 miles in the very good condition category, 40 miles in the good condition category, 37 in the poor condition category, and 9 miles in the very poor condition category. So I'm going to click through a few slides to show you examples of what streets in different condition categories look like. But please note these images are not from Oroville. So let's get started. So this, as you see, is a street in excellent condition. It looks brand new, looks beautiful. So those are PCIs from 90 to 100. Next is the very good category from 70 to 89 PCI. You'll start to notice a little weathering, some slight cracking here and there, still in good condition. And then now we're getting into the good condition category, 50 to 69. You're going to start to see a little more weathering, alligator cracking. It's starting to surface here. And then the next condition category is poor from PCI 25 to 49. You're going to see more severe alligator cracking here. And then finally, the poor condition category for PCI from 0 to 24. This is when you start seeing base failure, rutting, very severe alligator cracking, potholes, and all that. So I just want to show you a few examples of that. Okay, so now that we've looked at the condition of Oroville's roads, let's talk about how we maintain them. The type of treatment used depends on the pavement's condition. So streets in the excellent condition category, the best approach is to do nothing. They're already in great shape. It doesn't require any immediate attention. So we could just leave those alone. Okay, and the roads in the very good condition category, we focus more on preventative maintenance treatments like sealing the cracks and applying surface treatments such as slurry seals and microsurfacing. These treatments are relatively low in cost and extend the pavement's lifespan, delaying the need for more major repairs. The roads in good condition category, 50 to 69, they require heavier maintenance or light rehab, such as mill and thin overlays. And when the road reaches a poor condition category, PCI from 25 to 49, more extensive rehab is needed, such as mill and thick overlays. This is significantly more expensive than pavement treatments or preventative maintenance treatments. Finally, streets in very poor condition, simple repairs are no longer enough, and these roads require full reconstruction, which is the most costly type of repair. All right, so this chart is the same thing, but it shows where the treatments fall on the pavement life cycle. So early maintenance like sealing the cracks or applying microsurfacing helps keep the roads in good condition longer. So if we wait too long and let the pavement deteriorate, repairs become more expensive, requiring heavy rehab or full reconstruction. This is why it's important to do proactive maintenance. By acting early, we can maximize the life of our roads and stretch out our available budget further. Now that we've covered pavement conditions and maintenance strategies, let's take a look at what it will take to improve Oroville's roads over the next 5 years. So this table shows our projected needs through 2029. Now, this is an analysis. It's the best case scenario, assuming there's unlimited funding, no budget constraints. Okay, so obviously this is not realistic, but this is just a needs calculation that the program calculates. You'll see that the PCI treated column represents the expected network PCI if we follow a planned maintenance strategy, while the untreated PCI shows the network where the network would be if there's no action that's done. So best case scenario, the PCI could hit a 84 in the next 5 years. a worst case scenario, it will hit a 39 in the next 5 years. The budget needs is also broken down into two categories. It's preventative maintenance and the rehab, which is major repairs. So over 5 years, preventative maintenance needs is projected to be about 5 million, while rehab needs total over 150 million, bringing the total estimated need to 155 million.
Did you stutter?
No, I didn't. I know. I don't want that to scare you. That's just the best case scenario. And believe me, I don't see any agencies who have that much money who could fulfill their needs. So let's get into the scenarios. This is going to be a little more realistic. So here's the scenarios that we generated. We analyzed different funding scenarios to see how various budget levels would impact Oroville's pavement condition over time. These scenarios help us understand what's possible within different funding constraints. Okay, so we ran 5 different ones, and there's no funds, which is like if you don't spend any money. The expected annual budget, which is about 2 million. To maintain the PCI at 52, it takes about 10.5 million, and to increase the PCI by 5 points at the end of 5 years, it will require 14 million. An unconstrained budget, based on the budget needs that I mentioned in the previous slide, it will cost about 31 million each year. Okay, so now this is a PCI chart, right? This chart shows how each funding scenario affects Oroville's PCI over time. So the vertical axis represents the PCI, and the horizontal axis represents the years 2024 to 2029. So the red line, it's the no funds. It shows what happens if no road work is performed. The PCI would decrease from 52 to 39. The yellow line represents the ideal scenario, which would cost $31 million each year to get the network to an optimal level where only preventative maintenance is needed, right? Okay, and then now the purple line shows that in order to maintain the PCI at 52, about 10.5 million each year would need to be spent. The blue line represents the 5-point increase in PCI in 5 years, and that will require about 14 million each year. The green line is the city's expected annual budget of 2 million, showing that the PCI would decrease to 42 in 5 years. Now, this is a deferred maintenance chart, and deferred maintenance, it refers to the road repairs that are delayed due to budget constraints. When maintenance is postponed, roads continue to deteriorate, leading to more costly repairs in the future. So there's usually a negative correlation between deferred maintenance and PCI, meaning the more we delay repairs, the worse the condition becomes. And conversely, the more budget we invest in the roads, the less deferred maintenance we have, and the higher the PCI remains. So recommendations as far as general P&P program goes, we recommend inspecting arterials and collectors every 2 years to monitor high traffic roads. And we also recommend inspecting residential streets every 4 years to track long-term pavement conditions. And it's also important to update maintenance or road work regularly in the database to make sure that the database is up to date and we could keep accurate tracking and better planning for future repairs. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Alyssa to discuss additional recommendations. Thank you all.
Before you leave us, Marissa, can I ask a question? A quick question. In your repair or budget estimates for roadway repair, does that just look at the pavement replacement, or does it also look at the typical thing where we have to do ADA improvements of, curb gutter, ramps, and all those kind of things?
This is just pavement.
Okay.
Yes, for ADA curb ramps, we could put that into like the unit cost for each of the treatments. But I mean, I don't always recommend that because this is more of a network level tool, right? So
Right.
when it comes down to the project level, you could add those extra costs because we can't assume that every road has curb and gutter and all the same needs as the other roads. So yeah, it's important to remember this is just a network level tool, and then those could be added later.
Yeah, I appreciate that because that's what always hinders our projects is the fact that we would have to pick or choose it based upon how much other work we have to do that's not even related to the pavement. And
Yeah.
I kind of asked the question so to let the public know that sometimes when we repave a road, it's not just because of the pavement, then we have to do the ADA ramp, curb gutter, which can be as much or more than the entire project to begin with. So
Right.
I appreciate that. Appreciate the differential. Any other questions from council before we move to Alyssa?
I'll
right.
wait.
You'll wait.
I'll wait.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Marissa. That was great summary. So as far as recommendations, and I'll just go over the different funding alternatives that work kind of toward the end of that presentation. But I mean, some of the recommendations that Harrison Associates provided us were maybe to consider like truck route permit fees. We do have a transportation permit fee. This is for like large loads that kind of come through town, and but it's not substantial. I want to say it's like $17 or $19 a truck or something like that. And it's I've probably since I've started seen about 3 transportation permits come through. So we're not collecting a lot of dollars that way. Additionally, there's a residential waste collection fee that we could charge, and I believe we do. So I think Ruth sent some numbers earlier this week. We are with our franchise agreement with Recology, and so we do collect dollars on that. Development repairs, so fees that we could assess to new developments. We do have like impact fees that we gather, but those are really like a one-time as new developments come in. And also we could establish utility cut impact fees. So this is when we have utilities like encroachment permits, utility companies that are coming in and installing utilities and not performing underground work on our streets. And every time there's a new cut, it's a new source of where water can get in and can ruin our roads a little more quickly. So considering really taking a look at those impact fees and adjusting them as needed. Some of the other recommendations were pursuing local transportation sales tax measures, devoting more local sales or tax revenues to road maintenance, establishing downtown business improvement districts, or establishing more citywide assessment districts. And I do think that we're trying to do more of those assessment districts as we can. But those are really the recommendations that were provided. And I do think we should focus on keeping the roads that we have in that good range and really addressing those just to, as Marissa mentioned, it's about 3 times as much when we start to see that quick, rapid decline in our streets. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Councilman Goodson has a question. Thank you.
That was a hefty sum. And so
We're basic.
when I think of that, the maintenance prevention is Street Saver software recommends that 3% of the road maintenance budget be put towards preventive maintenance. Just curious, now that we know what we're looking at in the next 5 years, is that a sufficient amount to maintain the roads, to be at an adequate, and you're shaking your head.
Well, I just don't know that it's realistic for us.
It's not. All right. And so I was just curious, what were the factors, and that might be for this young lady here, were considered in determining that figure, that percentage?
The Street Saver program has an algorithm that calculates this much budget needs analysis, and this is based on the unit costs and its of the treatments. We put together unit costs for in the decision tree. Let me explain what a decision tree is. It has a branch for each of the functional classes, the surface types, and the condition category, and it selects the treatment based on the condition category of the street. So it's pretty much the cost of all the maintenance treatments that we would apply to certain streets at different condition levels. And that's where it gathers this calculation. That's what drives it. Now, 3% preventative maintenance, that's actually that's not so high, because in order to get the program to an optimal level where only preventative maintenance is needed, we need to get the streets in bad condition up there first. You know what I mean? So we could maintain it from there, right? So what I'm trying to say is that the 3% percentage, the other percentage, or the 97%, has to be spent towards more expensive treatments like rehab and reconstruction to get the program to that level where the preventative maintenance could be used to sustain it at that level.
I'm trying to craft this next question. So if we were to, what would be the financial impact on the city's overall budget if we were to put more funding allocated to the road maintenance to achieve a higher PCI?
I'll start.
It would.
I think it was a question.
Sorry.
That's okay. I think it was a question for staff.
It was.
Okay.
No, obviously the numbers are staggering. When I first saw them last week, we've met a few times, and I'm speechless to the
okay.
cost of these are the magnitude here is incredible. And we brainstormed on what we feel is the best the best solution. We roughly get about $1.2 million that we're able to use for maintenance.
Right.
We get about $2 million, and a lot of that goes towards salary. So we have very little discretionary revenue right now for these. Now, ultimately, if it's the council's wishes, every spare dollar that we have, if there are any spare dollars, can be allocated to roads. That's an option. But I'll say there's a lot of needs right now, and we have a couple costs that we know are coming next fiscal year.
Right.
And I don't know if there's going to be extra revenue that's available to spend. So that's the part where it is, we were thinking outside the box. What's the best way here to, 10 or $14 million to maintain or get to a 5% increase is a staggering figure. Our budget's $27 million, I believe. No municipality spends half of their.
No.
We're in a bad position, and it's taken many years to get here. But we're not the only ones in a bad position. The state average is 64, I think she said. So
Right.
it's not like this.
We're at 52.
So the hard part is many municipalities are facing the same challenge. And we got to be creative to come up with some solutions. Again, we got the figures last week. We've thought about a couple of things. I do think that we investing our dollars in the rehab projects that are 50 CPI or above, that gets you another 10 or 15 years. That's the best bang for our bucks right now. But obviously we have a lot of roads that are below 50 that need either the couple inches ground down and replaced or a full reconstruction. Those are multi-million-dollar projects. Whether or not there's an appetite for other revenue generating sources, or we get creative with our staff, or we're still, we don't have all the solutions
Okay,
tonight,
so
but
we're
we have
in the
thought about it.
exploratory
Yeah.
stage.
Yep.
All right, and then I just have one more question. So with this system, I don't think I can handle another update, but how often would we receive up-to-the-date updates that would accurately reflect the current road conditions?
I can take that one. Go.
Okay, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's ongoing. So we've actually dropped a point.
Wait a minute,
Just-
did we drop a point from last week?
Yeah, no. So we're at a 51. But so once all of our information now is populated in this software system, it starts to depreciate our roads as they, as time goes on. So it will constantly be updated so long as so long as I keep it updated with anytime we do, crack sealing or mastic, the things that we've done. So as we continue to do those, to continue to make sure that it's reflected in the software system, it should be updated all the time.
Yeah, it automatically knows correct me if I'm wrong, but it takes in consideration the amount of road traffic and the type of road traffic. That's how they come up with a formula, how it deteriorates. But again, as Alyssa said, we just did the work out here on Montgomery Street and Myers. You put that into the system, and it refreshes and it upgrades your score a little bit. Probably not much, but, it upgrades it. So it's live, it's real time, it's something we're gonna need to maintain in order to have a good picture of where we're at. But it's an amazing tool because it will help us, if we have X number of dollars, it will help us strategize and figure out what's the best way to spend those dollars. So, I mean, I'm sure all of you get various complaints from your various districts.
Absolutely.
And we'll try to obviously factor that into play as well, but this will be a concrete way of saying, here's where the
Right.
most best bang for your buck can be.
Okay. Councilman Johnstone's next in the queue.
So one of my initial questions was, I don't think it has any relation to this program, but when complaints come in from, various community members, this we'll probably already know about them now, right? Because it's repeatedly updating itself. So unless you're putting information into the system, how do we know if additional concerns pop up? And I think that was kind of maybe what Janet was saying too, was like, how does it monitor additional issues? Is there a camera going around town? No.
No,
Okay.
it's nothing like that. It's going to be reliant on our own visual inspections, or if we did want to start some sort of a camera operation like that, we could, but it would require us populating that. So what we could do is, especially on our arterials, the suggestion was to inspect those every 2 years. So every 2 years, we would look at them, and then we would give it a score, and then we would go back and compare it. What does the software say it is, and what do we think it is in reality? And then we can kind of train it that way.
So it'd be nice if there was some kind of an app or some kind of a notification program where our community members, when something is going on, like potholes or major storms or something, where they could, call in and report on, and it's continually updated type of a situation. I don't know, maybe
You know what,
that's
the
something.
311 system will be a great tool for
The
that.
311, yeah, exactly,
That's the
okay.
purpose of that, is if there are any road deficiencies that need immediate
Yeah.
attention, that's the perfect tool for
Great,
that.
great idea on that. Okay, perfect. And then, so this is crazy. I mean, I don't even really have words for it. Like, I mean, it's almost scary to know, but I'm glad we do know. We didn't even remotely think it was gonna be as bad as it sounds right now. So, my concerns are, one, economic development, right? We have to have roads in order to, bring people and businesses into our towns. So it's something that, that it is a top priority. Would this be something, or have we already brought it up to our new lobbyist friends?
Oh, yeah, you bet.
Okay.
Last week, as soon as we heard, I think that was one of my first emails to both of them, was sharing the study and the report. And again, it's challenging because we're not alone. But this does give us even greater urgency, if we
I was gonna
can
say top
advocate for
priority.
some of the, there's certain projects that
Major
do
reconstructions.
check a lot of boxes that
Yeah.
are very competitive. I think we do what we can, and obviously, Alyssa mentioned a lot of things on there, and obviously, trying to get grants or funding from the federal government or any other resource is absolutely gonna be critical. And
I would
mean,
just like to see, before we start adding more fees and assessments and all this stuff on, especially to potential developers or new businesses coming in. I mean, we're trying to think of ways of incentivizing them coming, not adding more, right? So, yeah, but something has to be done. So I would love for our new lobbyist friends to see what they could do. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll say, last week I was on a call with other city managers in one agency, and I can't remember, Dave, I'm not sure if this was proven to be legal or not, but one municipality out there was going to try to seek a bond, because a lot of these projects, you need an infusion of, it's not, a couple million here isn't gonna, it'll do some projects, but you need an infusion of a lot of cash. And they were trying to see if they can bond SB1 dollars. I think it failed, but, anyways, there was a creative way trying to figure out, because you get every agency gets SB1 dollars on it, so it is an ongoing revenue source. But that was one creative way that one agency was looking at trying to get more dollars up front, leveraging their SB1 dollars. So I mean, there's some creative ways out there that we will be beating the ground and trying to come up with some solutions.
Can I just ask something that has to do, I just want to piggyback off of Councilwoman Tracy, out of the box thinking, don't we have a drone system? Can't we program it to do what this does? No, I'm asking. I mean, the drones can survey the streets and,
I think you're only looking
Where I'm
at
go-
visual, where these folks do a much more in-depth analysis.
Yeah, they're looking at the
Right.
depth of the cracks and the magnitude of the cracks. I mean,
Right.
the system is built in a way where you don't have to do this study again, one was 2
Very
years,
often.
one was 4
Right.
years, but I mean, the key is updating it with all the work that we do along the way.
and that,
And that's okay, that's important for us to, because then it creates a record, then we have a history of, the work that has been done, where it's been done,
Right.
where are our needs. And again, I agree with you completely that it's astonishing, but it's also, we needed to know this information.
right,
Right.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, and I'm glad we're addressing it,
Yeah,
is,
cool.
it just seems like another bump in the road.
Oh,
Major,
no pun intended.
Vice Mayor Smith is in the queue.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm actually not surprised at all, given, the deferred maintenance and how long that's been ongoing. That being said, Orville has a lot of partners, other agencies that find home in Orville, whether it's state parks, Department of Water Resources, CHP, Department of Motor Vehicle. So just, in other words, just maybe prompting staff to think creatively. For an example, I know we entered into an agreement with Department of Motor Vehicle because here locally, they have truckers that come from all around the North State to do their training here. And anyone that knows anything about pavement, I know that Councilman Weber is very acquainted with that industry. He was a part of it. They do tremendous damage to pavement. So maybe with the state, because they're bringing in additional large, heavy equipment to our area. I know out at the airport, and then I always see them lined up there on Fifth Street all the time, constantly. And to that, on my own street, and I brought this to Mr. Mayo's attention last year, there was a habitat project for restoration in the river, and hundreds and hundreds, thousands of tons of material for, I think, almost a month, rumbled down my street. And my street clearly was not the same as before that project started. Clearly, there were significant impacts to my street. And so, given all of the various state agencies that engage our community, that travel back and forth with their equipment and their projects, I don't know, maybe there's some kind of a higher level of conversation with those agencies, and then with the state and with our lobbyists, that because Orville is more impacted than other communities because of that relationship that exists here, and maybe there's some additional dollars. Just a thought. I know my street still needs to be fixed, by the way.
All right, Councilman Weber is in the queue.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, yeah, I do have a little bit of an working knowledge. I did pave for 3 seasons many years ago. So, our city administrator did a very effective job of kind of highlighting a lot of the thoughts I had. But, $27 million budget, we get $1.2 million in roads money, and it costs roughly $600,000 for a half-mile of road to totally be rebuilt at prevailing wage, right? So do the math. We got 197 miles of roads approximately. Do the math. I mean, the budget isn't there to do much, right? So,
No.
and then given the the presentation we just seen and recognizing that we're at a massive deficit on what we have, what we bring in, and what we need to do. This is obviously a huge issue, but it's a quality of life issue. It's a safety issue. It's an issue that needs to be addressed. And so all of us drive these roads, and we all see them along with our constituents. I'm glad you brought up the 311, because that's definitely that push-pull notification. So
That's gonna work
for
really well.
severe cases, there's going to be the ability for somebody to snap a photo and say, hey, this pothole just erupted. So yeah, we discussed BCAG or grant opportunities. We discussed all these different things that could happen. But what I would like to kind of discuss is a little bit outside the box thinking, and to on top of everything we're talking about, because we got to figure out creative ways to get the most bang for the buck that we're just discussed, because the buck is obviously not nearly sufficient enough to do what we need. It doesn't provide enough bang, right? So we have, what I would like to submit that we do too as a proposal is that we would establish a dedicated pavement management team with our staff and the equipment that we have. Dedicated year-round team with a team lead. We have plenty of great equipment. We've got grinders, we've got rollers, we've got pavers, we've got crack sealers. We're about to be receiving our hot patch trailer. I think it's supposed to be coming anytime soon. We've got striper. We got all these different things. We got great assets. We got great tools. And more importantly than that, what I think is we have a great staff. And I know several of the folks that work in public works that I actually worked with, one of them years ago, paving. And so we have some incredibly knowledgeable people. So if we had a dedicated pavement management team, they could do hot patch, pothole filling, no more cold patching, because as soon as we get that trailer that you guys are about to receive, I think that'll really enhance your ability, because that trailer is going to keep that asphalt hot for, I think, 48 hours or 72 hours, I think. And what that translates to in cold seasons like right now is we could go around hot patching holes on days like today in the middle of the winter where it's still a beautiful day. And we, instead of utilizing cold patch, because cold patch, as soon as we use it, what happens often is the rain hits, cars drive over it and blows apart. And guess what we have? We have a repeat pattern over and over again. So hot patch, pothole filling, utilizing our new trailer, crack sealing, utilizing our new crack sealer, pavement grind and overlays. I think the description in the presentation was a mill and thin overlay, utilizing our grinding equipment and our paver, and to continue to also use the mastic system, because I think the mastic system has proved to be a smash success. I've seen very little of it fail around the city where it's been installed. Maybe one or two areas where I've seen where the alligator was pretty heavy underneath it, where it's kind of compromised. But the mastic, I think, has just been an unbelievable investment. And using our striping machine, we can maintain effective striping and while also adding the raised delineators for a safety purpose. A dedicated pavement management team would add a few people to our payroll, but I believe the benefit of a dedicated team to do nothing but paving and maintenance and repairs year-round would ultimately save the city money. The more we could do in-house we'll save dramatically on engineering and labor costs, and we have a secret weapon in Alyssa and your counterpart in the fact that you are engineers, so we don't have to pay somebody. And by the way, we own these roads, so we don't have to ask permission. As long as we don't touch the curb, gutter, sidewalk, ADA compliant ramps, right? And we're just doing edge-to-edge repairs and restructuring. We do a little bit of grind, 2 to 3 inches, a nice thin overlay. I think that we could save tons of money by making this dedicated pavement management team. So I would submit that we kind of explore that. I would like the council to explore that. And then in the future, if I had my actual wish list, what I'd like to see is us buy a big old paver, another 10-wheel dump truck, and make a real paving team. But that's a lot. That's a lot. That's looking at $2 million worth of investment. That's a lot. But ultimately, we got to figure out a way to save money here, is what I'm trying to say. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Well, I'm next in the queue, and I certainly agree with the concept of a team approach for this, because it clearly is a lot of work to be done, and I think it's a great idea. One question I had for Marissa is, we have the state highway in our jurisdiction. Is that highway roadway included as our street or the state street? Or do you know?
That's probably the state street. I don't think Oroville maintains that. I believe when we started this project, Alyssa told me she weeded out the highways, correct? Is that right,
Correct.
Alyssa?
That is
so
correct.
it wasn't included.
All right, well, I appreciate that. And just for conversation, Caltrans is planning to repave that around $36 million next spring, I believe is the time factor on that, and that's in play. So I was hoping that would give us a little bump up in our road credit, but I guess not.
Sorry.
Yeah. The other thing is the mastic that's been done, and it does appear to be very successful. What your experience with patches like mastic, is that how good a rating does that help us with the roadway when we applied that?
I have to admit, I'm not familiar with mastic, but did you mention that's like how what you use to fill potholes?
It's
Is
potholes
that
and
like-
patch,
can I understand that?
typically in the lane failures where the road tire have, reduced the tire lane in the roadways. I mean, it's been used and we've seen it work very well. I just didn't know what rating that gives us after we've applied it to the roadway.
So it's kind of like you're filling a hole. Is
Right.
that what it is? Okay,
Yes.
so there's that would be considered a localized treatment, right? And different types of treatments give different bumps in the PCI. So the localized treatments like patches, patch repairs, and base repairs, that gives maybe a bump of 1 to 5 points in the PCI. But this is kind of a funny thing where patches, they, depending on the current condition of the road, it could go up or down. So for example, if the road's really bad to start with, and then you add like a utility patch or any type of localized treatment, it will increase the PCI. But let's just say the road is in really good condition, and then you patch something up, it will bring the PCI down. Just
Gotcha.
because they assume that these are utility patches, and more cracks will come out of it. You
Gotcha.
know?
Got it. I understand.
But if it's already bad, it will help. If it's
Right.
good, it will bring it down a little.
Okay,
Right.
So,
appreciate that.
be honest with you there.
My next question is for our city attorney. When we're doing repairs to our roadways, is there any limits on how much repairs we as the city staff can do? Or, the reason I asked that question, I heard one time before that when the city does work, there's a certain limit before we have to put it out to bid.
Well, you're a small city, so you're limited by the resources that you have available to deploy for a particular problem. So there's no hard and fast rule, like, is there a dollar amount whereby you can't use your city staff to do that? It really depends on what council is willing to do in terms of the resources you want to dedicate to that work versus other priorities that you also have in public works, because it's not just limited to streets.
Gotcha. I appreciate that.
That kind of thing.
I just want to cover that base because I've heard of that before, and I just,
Yeah.
every city is dealing with this. In fact, our friends in Red Bluff, it's on their agenda tonight, the same thing, and I know Chico recently looked at that. The difference we have in Oroville is Measure U, clearly, and I want to give a shout out to the public in this town that voted for that. Without that, we would be really in a bind. Not to say that's going to be our solution, but it is the only way that we really have a way to address these problems. And not like some of the cities in Red Bluff, they didn't get a Measure U that failed, so they're really having to look at something very difficult tonight. So I want to give compliments to the voters in this town for that because they saw the foresight to it. I would also add that all of you in this room now have been deputized to be future contributors to this process. And we're looking for solutions to come from each and every one of you up here. And I see a lot of heads shaking in the background. But seriously, there might be an idea out there that we haven't thought about. And we're all able and really willing to hear what your ideas are and what they might be and where we might go with this process, because none of us up here can solve this problem tomorrow. And we all appreciate your time, and those out in the YouTube world that are watching the same thing. It's a struggle to take care of the streets. And I hate to be a sad person here, but we also have another problem, our drains in this town. If you just saw the one at Bridge in Mitchell, we just had a major failure there and a sinkhole and a huge repair that was done, taken care of by a local contractor in a very fast session to beat the storm. And that wasn't cheap. And I don't know what the numbers are on that, but the scary thing is we've had that, another one on Brookdale, and another one, a third place, I can't remember, where the pipes have actually eroded away and it rusted away. So we have a major drain problem, irregardless just the streets. but I always talk to a fellow that used to build roads. He says there's three things to build roads: drainage, drainage, and drainage. If you don't have it, you won't have a road. So it's almost like we got to, we'll work on another topic too here, and an inventory of our drainage systems and our drain pipes is probably something well needed. And if we don't do it, Mother Nature will let us and remind us about which ones are poor and not, as she's already done here recently with Brookdale Bridge, and I can't remember the third one.
Those are the main two where we had emergency repairs.
Yeah.
But we do have other drainage issues throughout town.
Right. So it's just something for you all to look at. Councilman Goodson's in the queue.
Yes, as you were talking, you had mentioned, and you're absolutely right, we need your help to see how to navigate this process. We need your input. We need your feedback. But I just wanted to say on the record, I am not in favor. For me, a street sells
Okay.
street maintenance. I just can't even say it.
Yeah.
It's like saying Candyman 3 times.
Yeah.
And so I would not consider that as a viable option. Just saying.
Hear that. Do we have any cards on this issue?
I have none submitted on this one, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Council, any more questions from the body at all?
Wow, it's a great presentation.
Yeah. And this was the first go at it. So again, you have all been deputized to help us out in the future here. Whatever the case may be, we need solutions.
Yes.
And like I say, the one saving grace we have is the Measure U funding that wherever we go with this, and I'm sure that staff will come up with the idea of whatever policy we can. I really do think Councilman Weber's idea of a team approach to roads is a great idea. I'm going to add roads and drains. If we put the two together,
Right.
it's a good possibility, so. All right, folks, appreciate the presentation, Marissa and Alyssa, thank you very much.
Sure. I would just like to add, we would need to look into, what Mr. Weber was talking about as far as the difference between our a public works project versus like maintenance. So I know that there are some dollar differences there.
Okay, good, you guys can work that out, appreciate that. All right, folks, great presentation. Next up is public communication hearing of non-agenda items. Do you have any cards?
Yes, we do, Mr. Mayor. We'll begin with the cameraman and follow that by Jeff Wahlberg.
Welcome, Mr. Cameraman.
Good evening, Oroville City Council. I'll try and be brief tonight. Just want to touch on a few things. I did get response back to one of my public records requests regarding an individual going around filming. That wasn't me. I know some people were probably wondering if that was me or not. No, they were wearing some sort of clown mask. I can understand that's probably concerning, but not illegal nonetheless. And from the CAD log, there's multiple callers, but the Oroville police did a good job nonetheless respecting that individual's rights. Whatever they were doing, filming with a clown mask on, I guess that's their business, but not a crime. And glad to see that their ability to do that was respected and not interfered with, from what I was able to gather from the CAD anyways. We had an ammonia leak at the Pacific Coast producers last month. Made a public records request to the city about that. Took some time to get a response back. I was able to receive a response today, which basically was that it was forwarded to CAL FIRE and I should make a request with the state. I already ahead of that, I made both of them at the same time, and believe it or not, CAL FIRE is still kind of lagging on getting a response to me. So, kind of funny that the city was able to tell me, to make a request to them, and they still haven't even responded to the request I've made with them. So, I guess everybody has their own public records problems going on right now. Another issue, looking into potentially, I don't know if this is city or mainly our new intern chief's position on, but I recently looked into the ride-along policy not too long ago, and it was amended during COVID to only allow people that are actually in the process of looking to become a member of the Oroville Police Department to go on the ride-along. And now that a COVID's over, maybe we can kind of look back into changing that. I mean, it's never going to be officially over, you know. I mean, it's still a disease out there that you can get sick from. But, you know, it's, you know, times have changed since 2020 and masking and all of that. And I was basically told by the sergeant, hey, we'd love to have you do a ride along, but we can't, do any of this until the policy is changed. So, you know, that's something if you could help us look into doing.
Okay.
And, well, pretty much with the remaining time left, I'll just go ahead and reserve for tonight. Thank you.
Sir.
Thank you. Up next, we have Jeff Wahlberg, followed by Bill Spear.
Welcome, Jeff.
Mayor, City Council, I'm here tonight to, I want to appeal to you, our city leaders, for peace and reconciliation. I've been thinking about this a lot, and it's been on my heart. And I just want to let you guys know, and I don't bring this up for sympathy or anything. I just want, some of you guys that know me know that my dad just recently passed away. But I don't bring that up, like I said, I know he's with my mom and Jesus, so I'm not worried about it. But the important thing that him and my mom taught us children was to have good morals and character and ethics and, integrity. There's another longtime family in our community that I know their parents taught them the same thing. There was 5 of us kids, and I think in their family they had 7. And that right there would be Ernie Reynolds. Him and his wife taught their children good ethics and morals and character. I have right here in my hand, I have a check that I got from Mr. Reynolds when he was running the last election with you, Mayor Pittman. And if Mr. Reynolds didn't, this is a few $1,000s, and he donated it to our nonprofit. And in my opinion, in my view, if Mr. Reynolds didn't have ethics or character or in his life and what he was instilled by his parents, he would have did everything he could to try to keep that money. But he did the right thing, the ethical thing, and he passed it on to a nonprofit. I want to read to you guys right here in Ephesians chapter 4, verses 2 through 4. It says, always be humble and gentle. Be patient with each other, making allowance for each other's faults because of your love. Make every effort to keep yourselves united in the Spirit, binding yourselves together with peace, for there is one body and one Spirit, just as you have been called to one glorious hope for the future. I wonder what our Father in heaven thinks when he looks down and he sees us bickering or fighting about things, issues. I don't think he likes it. He doesn't want that. We've been given the ministry of reconciliation, and I believe that reconciliation is not just to reconcile people to the Lord, but it's to each other. And I just want us to put away our grievances against each other and work together to make our community a better place. And I just want to finish with the last 30 seconds here. The end of this chapter, verse 31, Ephesians 4:31. It says, get rid of all bitterness, rage, anger, harsh words, and slander, as well as all types of evil behavior. Instead, be kind to each other, tenderhearted, forgiving one another, just as God, through Christ, has forgiven you. And I just appeal on all of you, our city leaders, to work together and let I don't know all of you personally, but I know of you, and I know we all have. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Up next, we have Bill Spear.
All right.
I'm fine.
Welcome, Mr. Spear.
Vice Mayor, City Council. Pretty cool, getting all kinds of scriptures tonight in City Hall. The verse of the day, and he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, most gladly, I will rather boast in my infirmities, that the power of Christ may rest upon me. As we listen to the issues of the paving and the deficits and all of the stuff, it just gives tremendous opportunity for the power of God and the grace of God and the provision of God to prevail. That was the daily verse that is given out. So anyways, about 10 years ago, our office was right across the tracks, and we began to prayer walk downtown Orville for 40 days. Every morning at 7 a.m. we'd go underneath the tracks, pray for all of downtown. And you know, the Bible says, if you ask, you'll receive, or you have not because you ask not. And just look back at then and see all of the things that God has done for our city. And I'm sure of this, that he who began a work in our city is going to see it through. And there's no giants too big. So tonight I would like to announce that we're having a grand opening on Friday, the 28th, from 6 to 9 at 715 Bird Street. It's our new 2-story youth facility straight across the street from the Birdcage Theater. Everybody's invited. We're going to have a ribbon cutting and barbecue and try to get as many kids there. We're already having a youth group for Tuesdays and Wednesday nights, and hopefully we'll have it full every night of the week and every day of the week. So come on out and show your support. And with that, I would like to pray. Father God, we thank you for, Lord, your grace and your mercy. We thank you for what you're going to do with our streets. And you're already moving, and things are getting fixed and things are getting done. And so we focus on the things that are good and praiseworthy, the things that are a good report, the things that you're doing. And sure, there are obstacles and issues and problems, but it says if we ask for wisdom, that you'll give it generously without finding fault. And so we ask for not only wisdom, but provision, that you would prosper us, that you would make us a city on a hill, a light on a shelf, that every struggle and every trial would just make us stronger, more mature, more complete, more ready for the next obstacle, next trial, for the next victory. We love you, we praise you, we give you all the glory. In Jesus' name, amen.
Any other cards?
That's all I have for submitted public comments, sir.
Thank you all. Appreciate the commentary and the comments. Next item is reports or discussions. Council announcements and reports. I'll throw one out to start with. Ms. Goodson, we had a nice meeting with our senior staff, Mr. Ring, Patrick, and Fred. Went up to meet with our South Feather Water and Power and to talk about that agency as a partner in our community. It's interesting because all three of them had never seen that facility. And I wanted them to get a good clue, and Rath Mosley gave a great 2-hour presentation over how, what that district's all about and as a water provider, and then what possibilities exist in the future for, an agency that's within our jurisdiction. It's got a lot of possibilities in terms of power generation and water delivery. So I think it was a very good meeting, and we appreciate Rath Mosley and the board to let the city staff know what's going on with that agency. And it's another reach out to our partners in the community. And then also appreciate the Bridge and Mitchell repair. That was a local contractor that stepped up and took care of business in a real quick order. I mean, you're talking about 2 4-foot diameter culvert pipes over 200 feet of distance, and that wasn't an easy job to fix, but they did it and beat the storm. So appreciate that. And city staff are all there and everything. It's just one of those things that, you create emergency by Mother Nature, and she just lets us know once in a while who's in charge of things. So Councilman Goodson's up from the queue.
I took myself.
Oh, you took your, okay. Council announcements, any council? Before we go to staff, anybody? Oh, Vice Mayor Smith, please.
I'll make this as brief as possible. I just want to remind everyone, Arbor Day is March 15th at the Convention Center from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. It's going to be a great time. I have an opportunity then to take the message to our kids. By the way, it's Read Across America, first week in March coming up. And with that, I'll be sharing with the students at various schools and reading the Lorax and just talking. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And with that, schools, I just want to share this kind of anecdotal engagement I had recently. As you know, there's been the threat of tariffs, if you've been following the news at all. And I got a call from Canada several times, reaching out. Just, hey, we're still friends, aren't we? Wink, right? From Chambers of Commerce in Canada. I thought that was just really really fascinating. And I said, well, all you got to do, as I understand it, if you go to the whitehouse.gov, is just deal with the fentanyl crisis, the drugs. They're a concern here in America. And by the way, how's it going up there in Canada? Man, we're having the same trouble up here too. It's just been really tough, businesses closing. And I thought, wow, so yeah, we are all in it together. And we do face various challenges as a community. And it does take a village. That being said, personally, I've been impacted by family tragedy. My father had a stroke, and my brother has moved here from the Philippines to live with us to help take care of Dad. My dad had a whole new family in the Philippines, so I have brothers and sisters, much younger than me. My dad's a powerful man. Anyway, that being said, I asked my brother, who's still he's 17, he's still finishing his senior year in high school. I said, so bro, tell me, what's it like in the Philippines? What's a kid's daily experience? He said, well, I get up at 5:30, 7 o'clock, we stand in the hot sun for 1 hour, and we recite, their version, and not just a pledge, but also their national anthem. And then we're lectured to in the hot sun for 1 hour. And then we get 2 breaks and 1 lunch, and we go home at 5 o'clock to do homework. And I thought, well, in a third world country, they all have something in common that we also enjoy here in America. It's one of these. And you know what, folks? They're looking at these, and they know how we live. And you know what? They want it more than we're willing to stand up and contend for it. And it's just so important, I think, to understand the global challenges that we have across the world. And right now things seem a little topsy-turvy. But I just want to encourage everyone that, stand up, be accounted for. I remember Mr. Kennedy, John F. Kennedy, right? We've all heard that famous speech, that little line, ask not what your country can do for you, but ask what you can do for your country. And I'm just inspired, having my brother and having these personal challenges, and then having Canada call and tariffs, and the world's going crazy. And in the midst of all of that, you know what? I love Oroville, right? We have road challenges. We have some stuff up in front of us, but be encouraged and be of good cheer, right? The creek hasn't risen too high to where it's taken out all of our drainage. And we still have some nice roads to drive on, and 162 is going to get fixed. But I don't know. I'm having this kind of like reflective moment right now with you all, so I appreciate your patience. But it's all good at the end of the day, and so just be encouraged, be of good cheer. Thank you.
All right,
For
thank you.
God has overcome.
Councilman Reynolds is on the queue.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to remind everyone or invite you as of new, if you haven't heard, I'm on the board of South Oroville African American Historical Society, and we're having a gospel concert at the State Theater on February 22nd. So we would really be pleased if everyone showed up. It's a good time. We had one a few months ago, and it was very successful. A lot of professional bands from out of the area and some local bands, church bands that do a really good job. So you are all invited. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Weber's in the queue.
Yes, I wanted to, first and foremost, Jeff, I'm so sorry about your loss with your dad, okay? He was a good man. Yeah. So, and then secondly, to kind of echo what Council Member Reynolds just said about that concert, it is a really good concert, and you guys do it's an excellent service to the community. And then that actually brought to remembrance that my church is actually hosting a free movie the following day at the State Theater. So Jordan Crossing Church is hosting a movie. It's a faith-based movie for those that are interested. It's called The Forge. It's a discipleship movie that is just an excellent movie. And in what it looks like to pour into a person and have that person then turn around and pour into the community. Really good stuff. So that'll be 3 p.m. It's free to anybody that wants to come at the State Theater on Sunday the 23rd. So anybody could come. We just ask that you please bring a couple dollars to support the State Theater concession stand, because they got a little fund. They do things with that. So thank you.
It's an excellent movie.
All right, thank you. Administration.
I got a couple quick things, Mr. Mayor.
Please.
We had a meeting last week with Lonnie from Cal Water, and they are running some issues with ultimately with the defluorination process, so we are going to file a motion with them. There's going to be a hearing in the near future, so we're going to just voice our support for that process. So I'll keep the council appraised if there's anything else, if we need to do any sort of formal letter or whatnot, but we're going to file at least some sort of a motion with them just to show our support. We have the resolution, so
With
it's.
the PUC.
With the PUC.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that was last week, and then also we just want to let everyone know that the state fire marshal has been working on new high fire severity zone mapping over the past probably, I don't know, year, maybe 2 years, and they were issued last week. And I can email this to the council and we can post it, but I would say overall, the city of Oroville's fared very well in the mapping. It's very interesting to see. We have to have a public process on this because with this process, there are going to be new requirements with regards to building. And I don't have all the details yet. They have different zones. You have moderate, high, and very high zones. And thankfully for the city, you only have a very, very tiny, minute area that's very high, a larger area that is high more on the eastern portion, the north and eastern portion of the city limits. But the vast majority are very low or moderate. So this one was worrying me because I didn't know where we were going to actually score on their metrics. So more to come on that, but we are going to have a public hearing on this and get part public input. So that'll happen in the next probably 2 to 3 council meetings as well.
Okay.
That's all I have.
All right. Any other department heads? Not this week? Police chief?
I got a couple of things here. The big thing that we're excited about is for the past month, we have received more qualified sworn candidates than we did for all of 2024.
Excellent.
So we're
Great to hear.
closing the gaps quite a bit on this one. Today was the starting of one of our first officers that we stole from another agency.
Oh,
which is
good.
not something that has happened
Good.
in a while.
Who's
So-
knocking on my door that's mad about it?
So he'll be sworn in a future council meeting. And the Citizen RIMS, I talked briefly last meeting, it's an update, it's 2.0. It's basically a better way to communicate with the citizens as they call in. We're trying to do a better responsive of, once you call in, it just doesn't die. You get some feedback on what you've called in for. So this is one of those attempts, and we're also looking at another software that keeps you regularly updated, gives you your case number, tells the officer who's involved, and so it's a better way to communicate. The Coffee and the Chief, we talked about, I'm trying to do another one. Been bugged a bit to do another one, so we're gonna be doing, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And then also, we're just working on a better method. It's my bad, I'm not really good on the media side, and I'm getting harassed about getting better at press releases. So bear with me, and we're getting that, try to get 2 to 3 out per week, so people kind of know what's going on in the community.
Good to hear. Thank you.
That's kind of about it.
Councilman Weber has a question.
Yeah, I just wanted to take a moment to thank you, Chief, for, you truly did hit the ground running. And in the conversations I've had with you, I've been incredibly pleased with the way you communicate. And I wanted to also note that I see the effort you guys are doing in light of the current copper theft around the city with all the, and I know you guys are running hard trying to find out who these guys are, who this guy is. I just appreciate that because you've already told me what you guys are doing. So we've already, I made an appeal to the public to, if you guys see something, if you see somebody on a roof, if you see somebody doing something somewhere where they're not supposed to be, call the police. Because a lot of these are rooftop units getting destroyed. They're behind fences, and they're probably collecting $20 worth of copper and doing thousands of dollars in damage per unit, right? I mean, so I bet you we're upwards of $100,000 of damage, and it's probably more. Yes, yeah. So it's ridiculous. But I wanted to applaud your effort there, and then make that appeal to the public. We gotta get this stopped. So if we could help the police, let's try to do it.
Thank you. And on that note, we're going to be putting out kind of a press release tomorrow that we're trying to network all the local folks with cameras. And we're going to put a pin map. So if we have something in the area, we know exactly where we can go, and maybe they captured something that we couldn't
That's a good
get.
idea. Yeah.
So we're going to be putting that out tomorrow. So anybody with a camera, you're going to maintain control of it. We're just going to know that it's there so we can go out and politely ask. If you've got footage, we'd love to see it.
Excellent. Councilman Goodson had a question?
Yes, I do. I'm going back to applications being submitted. What do you attribute the uptick in folks applying for these sworn positions? And is it a shift, a major shift in the recruitment process? What is it? Have you pinpointed what it is? I know everybody knows you and you're very likable, so that is a factor.
I think they see what's going on within the city of Oroville. I think they see the city council operating the way you are. They see the administration of all the folks here that work in Oroville. They see a passion and a drive to make this city great. And frankly, that's kind of infectious. And I think I'm reaping the rewards of some of that, that is reaching out to other people that have always seen something in Oroville, and now they're seeing the possibility that we in law enforcement are kind of taking an extra step in helping you achieve that goal. And so I think it starts right here in this council chambers.
Yeah.
You know what? I appreciate you saying that. I had put myself in the queue and then I took myself out. And I'll tell you why. It was, and Jeff, I appreciate your concern. Trust me, there is no concern. We get along very well, each one of us. We have each other on speed dial. We have learned how to diplomatically agree to disagree with a smile. We wish each other well. And so, no complaints here. It's an absolute pleasure to work with each one of these individuals and our staff. So I don't know, maybe we're in is it the eye of the storm or something, but we're gelling.
Well, I appreciate that. With Councilman Goodson, though, she's been on vacation. We're only going to let her go on one vacation a year because she's been way too happy tonight. We've had a lot of fun with her tonight, so vacation's been good for you. That's obvious.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other staff or administration reports? Looking around the room? No? We're good to go. All right, we'll move forward then. Next item is consent agenda, and I believe we have a couple issues.
Can we pull item 8 or do you want?
However you wish to do it.
Let's pull it, that way you can vote on the rest of it.
We'll
yeah.
pull item 8.
Pull item 8.
Item 8 is pulled.
Tell the public, the reason why I'm pulling item 8 is I literally live right next door to the house that we're about to talk about.
Literally.
So it's
Okay.
a little too close, so, okay.
With item 8 pulled, any other questions by council on the consent agenda?
I
Oh,
move
yeah,
that
you-
we approve the consent calendar exempt item 8.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Motion passes with 6 yeses, 1 absent.
We didn't have any cards on any consent items, did we?
No, sir, we did
Okay.
not.
Sorry, I almost forgot that. All right, item 8. We have Councilman Weber recused from that item. What's the pleasure of the council on item 8?
Adopt resolution number 9346.
I'll second.
Call the roll, please.
Motion passes 5 yeses, 1 recusal, 1 absent.
All right. Someone return our councilman. Next item is number 10, the regular business. The item topic is Table Mountain Golf Course operational update, request for reimbursement for calendar year 2023, course improvements, and review of the 2024 and 2025 project lists. Who has this one?
I'll go ahead and kick this off,
Okay.
Mr. Mayor. So this item, I've had numerous meetings with the folks out at Table Mountain Golf Course for the last couple of years and gotten to know the general manager out there and some of the board members, and it's been really good dialogue. Recently, I learned that they have, and of course, I still consider myself new because I'm still learning something new every day, but we have an agreement with them, a cost-sharing agreement, and it went into play 2022, and ultimately, there's a revenue sharing in place right now where 3% of the gross sales is returned to the city And then that goes to the airport fund, and Ruth can smack me if I screw anything up, but
Yeah.
it goes, and then the golf course, actually, the language is retains, but they haven't retained, but 1% for projects that go back into the golf course. Because ultimately, frankly, most of the stuff they invest back over there goes back into the golf course. So they did not submit anything for the 2023 reimbursement, so that was one item on here. They did remit $58,368.50 to 3% gross sales, but they did not request 1% of that back, which is $18,789.50. They did do the projects. The projects are in the staff report. I believe their general manager is here, and he's happy to.
Yeah.
He'll come up and give more of an update here in a minute on things. But the 2023 projects are in there, and then also the 2024 projects are in there that were completed last calendar year, and then we're going to be back on track now. Also, then 25 projects, which we want, of course, the council's. Ideally, you see these beforehand, that he has planned for calendar year 2025. So that's kind of a high-level overview of this. This agreement does go in, it's a 3-year agreement. The revenue sharing it expires in August. We've already started some dialogue on that as well. But I'll turn it over to, come on up, Bob, and he can give just a general. I felt it was a good opportunity. We haven't discussed the golf course up here in some time, so I thought it was a good opportunity for Bob to share a lot of the great things that they've been doing out there.
Thank you very much. For those of you who don't know me, probably none of you, my name is Bob Collier. I'm the general manager out at Table Mountain Golf Course. I have some of my board members out here, and I have to apologize for my voice.
It's all right. Welcome, Bob.
Well, I have a sore throat, so I will try and make this quick, just as a quick overview, because it seems like a lot of people in the community don't know a whole bunch about Table Mountain Golf Course. So I'll go real fast. It was designed and opened in 1956. Basically, the first 9 was built by locals, farmers, that type of thing. The second 9 opened several years later, and then it was incorporated in 1984 and 85 by Mr. Wes Barrett, who was I believe, a law enforcement person here, and a current member out there, Jerry McGee, who is a community member. The course is a 501c4, which is a nonprofit. So all of the money that the course makes or spends or anything, it gets reinvested back into the golf course. The course, I mean, that was the intent of it. It's not really to make a profit. Real quick, there's like 3 or 4 generations of family out there. So there's great grandkids, grandfathers, dads, that kind of thing. So it's been around a long time, and it's our opinion that it's an extremely important asset to Oroville. A lot of people utilize it. We support our local schools. We let the golf teams from the 2 high schools play for free. We have golf camps for juniors age 17 and under. Kind of going into the finances a little bit, prior to the pandemic, golf as a whole, including Table Mountain, wasn't doing all that well. Golf was getting less popular. So our course, like many, started to struggle. In 2017, the course lost $24,000, which was a pretty good sized number for the revenue. And in 2019, the course lost $121,000 is from that decline. However, the pandemic saved golf, basically. It was the only thing people could get outside and do and still manage to meet the requirements of our 6 foot and all of that kind of stuff. So as a whole, golf everywhere, the pandemic was one of the good things probably the only good thing that came out of the pandemic. Table Mountain, let's see, in 2020, it made $358,000 because we were one of the only courses open. The other courses closed down, mostly in Chico, that kind of thing. So we had a lot of people coming to play golf there. We did well in 2021 and in 2022. So we built a little bit of a cushion. The dollars for that have been saved for future golf course needs. It's not uncommon for our annual budget to exceed our revenues, but luckily we have a bit of a cushion right now, but that cushion's not
Right.
sustainable. The golf course in '23 made 74,000, and then it lost 124,000 last year. Now, a lot of that wasn't, I don't see those as losses. I see that as we are finally reinvesting back into the golf course the way we probably should have been through the pandemic. But out of fear, you know, the decision makers were afraid to spend money because they were about to close their doors prior to the pandemic. Again, we still spend more than we receive operationally, but we still have that cushion and we're buying new equipment. One of the big ones, so our irrigation system, the course was built in '56 and then expanded several years later, but our irrigation system is more than 60 years old. The annual lifespan expectancy of a golf course irrigation system is 20 to 30 years. So we're putting Band-Aids on everything constantly, which kind of your prior presentation goes over the fact that deferred maintenance catches up with you over time. The estimated cost from a golf course architect to replace the irrigation system is $4 to $4.5 million. That's pie in the sky for us, but it's just something that we needed to know, just like you needed to know about your pavement plan.
Right, right.
As far as trying to generate more revenue, it's hard to do around here because we can't keep raising prices in Oroville. Otherwise, we start to price out, you know, our community. So we're trying to keep the prices low. So right now, we're trying to figure out how to get less money going out the door. That's kind of what this 3-year contract had to do. We're not surrounded by a big city, so we don't have a ton of people to get excited about golf. You know, we're pretty small, sort of geographically plopped in the middle of nowhere kind of thing. But the course has been around and it's survived. Operational update, 2024, our new equipment costs were $106,000. We had to purchase some new mowers. Mowing obviously is the vital thing out there. They're very expensive and very hard to get your hands on. Equipment maintenance was $90,000 because our equipment is very, very old and outdated, so the older it is, the more it costs to keep running. We ended up hiring more people out of necessity, so our payroll was up by about $113,000. That's for any business. You have to hire good people and you have to figure out how to keep good people, and that usually costs you more money. Our labor cost is 40.9%. The USGA has a report out there. They keep track of this stuff for us. And a normal golf course is 40 to 60%. So our labor costs are pretty darn low, even though we've hired more people. We have plenty of projects ready to go. We're rebuilding tee boxes. We're doing irrigation repair, Band-Aids. We have more new equipment on the way, a couple more new mowers to the tune of $120,000. We need our cart pass resurfaced, asphalt. We're not sure exactly, but just for the asphalt alone, I've sort of calculated about 200 grand. Parking lot reseal, and then we have 4 septic systems out there that are very old. So we need to stay on top of those, otherwise we have to start closing restrooms. We currently have 267 members. So we're a semi-private golf course. So we allow outside play as well as we offer memberships for people, which gives you a discounted rate for golf. If you play a lot of golf, it pays for itself. In 2022, we had about 40,000 rounds. So that was one of our good years. So that's when we made some money. 2023, we had 36,000. So the number went down, which the money we made, reflects that. And in 2024, we had 30,000. So things are leveling back out from the pandemic. You know, the people that were playing, some stuck, some didn't. That's really just kind of a not so quick summary of the operational, since we haven't really had a chance to talk to council and kind of give you all an update as what we are and what we do. The goal is to be there for the community. That's what we are here for, and I don't know that that's ever been pushed. But that's kind of my presentation, if you have any questions.
Bob, thank you. Yes, we do. Vice Mayor Smith is up in the queue.
Okay.
Yeah, and I appreciate the presentation.
Yeah,
And,
sure.
you know, obviously, the golf course is very important. It adds beauty and, you know, just another element for our community. I think a year ago or so, when you were presenting, or was it Todd, was it you that presented last time, or Todd? Was that Todd?
Might have been Todd. Todd Moran was the.
So,
yeah.
so there was an animated group of folks that talked about bocce ball, because you were talking about partnerships and creating additional interest. And so without going, you know, taking a lot of time, where's that project at? Is there any potential for that? Because I think they were wanting, because they loved the restaurant, they loved the atmosphere and all that, to add another element. Because some like golf, some like bocce ball. So it seemed like a potential marriage there. So I'm just kind of
Absolutely,
curious
and we've been
about
thinking
an
about
update. Yeah.
Pickleball too. I mean, because pickleball's big new sport kind of thing. So to answer your question, the reason the bocce didn't really take off, for one, bocce ball courts are surprisingly expensive to make. But for two, we weren't ready to invest the money in something other than the golf course, because we were still, so in 2022, we lost almost 7 of our greens just from lack of maintenance, just trying to not spend money and still keep the golf course going. Well, deferred maintenance, again, that it kills you. So we are just now getting ourselves dug out of the hole as far as bringing the golf course up to a standard that we feel is a good product. The opinion of what a good golf course is nowadays has changed. Is wall-to-wall green is what people want. If they don't see wall-to-wall green, it's a goat track. You know, we got to find that balance in there. So we just didn't want to spend at that moment money on something other than the golf course. But I think we can probably start looking at that, especially, you know, if we, you know, get some, a little bit of financial help or a little less money goes out the door, to doing additional community things, you know, bocce ball, we have lights out there with the dog park, you know, where the canines used to train out there. There's lights. So there's even places that are lit up out there that we could utilize for that stuff. So it has not gone away by any stretch. We just had to kind of put it on hold until we got things in a little better shape.
Well, thank you for that.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. Councilman Johnstone is in the queue.
Thank you. So the golf course is one of my, close to my heart. It's my district out there, and I have actually been meeting with staff about things that we can do as far as building up the golf course and the airport out there. And I've already been talking with staff about the lobbyists and if there is anything that we can do as far as grant funding that would help with the sprinkler irrigation system. So we're not sure, but that's already in the works. So know that we do see you guys, and we do absolutely believe that the golf course is an integral part of the city. And me personally, I'm all for whatever we can do to help sustain you and continue growth moving forward. So community events, maybe maybe we can get together and talk about potential community events where we can publicize and incentivize golfing out that way. Okay.
Thank you.
I have a card. Actually, I think I have a card here.
Thank you for recognizing that and
Yeah,
the grant
absolutely.
funding. What Mr. Ring, we have talked to him quite a bit about that.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way that's going to happen. I mean, it's such a large dollar amount.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
But we can do it in phases as well. It doesn't have to all be done at one time.
Well, it's definitely on the radar, and so
Much appreciate that.
I can't speak for everybody on the council, but I believe that we're all in agreement to whatever we can do to help.
That's great.
Thank you.
I think there's good consensus. I also have to applaud you for having the golf teams and the youth sports. I mean, that's a big deal. I think you're one of the few courses that do allow and encourage
Future
that.
of the game.
Yeah, and that's a great idea. I know when I was young and I went out to play in high school, I returned home and my dad woods were all busted up and he said, you're done. You're not. So I was removed from the course after I destroyed his golf clubs. But I encourage this. This is a huge asset to the community, and it's one of those things that you need to have, and it needs to be available. And you guys are doing a great job. We appreciate that. Again, we don't only survive by partnerships, and the partnership between the city and you is a huge, valuable asset, and we appreciate your board members and your time and effort to make this a better community, and it's just another part of our story. So we appreciate your time and effort, and very positive thing, and thank you for your presentation. It's good to know what's going on. I did have a question. Didn't you have the cart sheds destroyed by fire, and how's that been rebuilt?
We had one of our 3 sheds burned down a year and a half ago, kind of thing, but it is back.
Oh, good. That's good to hear.
Good as new. Now
Yeah.
everybody's fighting to get their cart in that one.
Well, you have a desirable one now.
Yes,
huh?
we do. We have a nice cart barn.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you. Any other questions from council?
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
We
you for your
appreciate your time and effort tonight.
Appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And to the board as well.
Yes.
Thank you for coming.
Okay. Information only for that item unless we need.
We have actually, there's
Approved.
3 actions on that.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
All right, I
Approved
entertain a motion.
projects.
So moved.
Okay, thank you. We approve your projects
Okay.
And the reimbursement.
and the reimbursement. Oh, yes.
So the motion is for action items 1, 2, 3, and 4,
Yeah.
just for clarification. And we have a second. Call the roll, please.
Motion passes, 6 yeses, 1 absent.
Thank you all. Appreciate your time.
Thank you for being here.
We're going to move up to the public hearing now so that we can take care of that business real quick. Oh, Councilman.
Councilman.
Rarical?
Well, if you're moving to public hearing, I'll stay.
Okay.
I'm going to recuse myself on item number 11.
Okay, all right. Yeah, we got to take care of the public hearing, which is,
Yeah, this one's a very quick one, Mr. Mayor. It's the Butte Choice Energy Association. We were moving away from Butte Choice Energy. The council adopted 2 resolutions on the consent. One is to collectively terminate Butte Choice Energy JPA with the other entities, and then also a resolution to join Pioneer Community Energy. Those are 2 actions on the consent. And then now here for the public hearing, this was introduced back on January 21st. We had our first discussion on this. And this is a change in the language in our ordinance. Right now, the language allows joining a CCA, but it mentions Butte Choice Energy. So this language modifies that language, this action modifies that language to change our ordinance to reference Pioneer Community
Pioneer
Energy.
Community Energy.
And I know we have a Pioneer online if there happen to be any questions, but I think we have talked about this quite a bit.
I don't necessarily have a question, but I think I've gotten a number of community interests about when will this possibly
Right.
occur in Oroville. And I think this report indicates October of '27 would be the earliest time.
So the PUC, is just to give everyone some general ideas here, there's a lot of paperwork that has to be filed in 2025. And then the PUC has all of calendar year 2026 to do their
Right.
scheduling with all the energy. So then it could potentially launch in 2027. And fall is the best time to launch after summer because the energy use for the success. So that right now the goal date is October of 2027.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Goodson has a question.
Right, so I did some impromptu research on the CPUC and other communities that have come together with this type of proposal. I didn't find where they did not grant an approval. And do you have any? I didn't find
the
any.
PUC denied.
Right, I didn't see any denials.
Yeah,
And so I
haven't-
think it'll,
Yeah, ultimately, what Pioneer will have to, and I can be corrected on this one too, but I know when Butte Choice Energy, I believe it's called an implementation plan, it has to be filed
is an
beforehand,
implementation
and then
plan.
ultimately, once you file this implementation plan, and there's coordination in 2026, because a lot of the customers who are using energy right now from PG&E will likely transition to Pioneer because it's gonna be less
Right.
costly, so they have to do their planning for all that scheduling and the coordination with PG&E. But I haven't heard of anything being denied either. I
Right,
think
right.
ultimately,
And-
before you before any agency does a CCA, there's a feasibility study to show that it's financially feasible, and then before any sort of implementation plan is filed with the PUC.
Right. Okay, thank you.
I
Just
think-
wanted a confirmation on that.
Just to add, and not to backtrack, but the issue with fluoride, we thought was very simple, very clean and clear. And the reason we had a little kickback was from the PUC because we had to have a different set of paperwork. So the fluoride hasn't been removed yet. It should have been removed, but we have to go back to the PUC. They're our hiccup in the process, so it's very, very different agency. Okay, I would entertain a motion. Do we have any cards on this item? Public cards? Item 17?
No, sir, we do not.
All right.
I move that we adopt the ordinance recommending subsection 13.30 of the Oroville Municipal Code to implement a community choice aggregation program with Pioneer PCE.
I'll second.
Call the roll, please.
Motion passes with 6 yeses and 1 absent.
All right, we're going to move back to item number 11. Under regular business, correct?
Mr. Mayor, I'm going
Yes.
to recuse myself on this item.
Okay, thank you, sir. It's titled Market Rate Housing Fee Deferment Agreement.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members.
Patrick.
We have had lots of discussions about market rate housing and what we can do to attract market rate housing builders to come to this city. In my interview here, it was brought up in the interview, what would I do to bring market rate housing in? And so it's been on the forefront of my mind ever since I arrived. Brian Ring and Wes Irving and I have thought long and hard about what we can do to incentivize builders. And a deferment of fees for an extended period of time seems to be something that can help out. So this would work for apartments or multifamily type of projects. It won't necessarily work for single-family projects because single-family projects, once they're sold off to multiple owners. Where a multifamily project, we own by one owner, so we can have a loan agreement, a promissory note, a deed of trust that would ride with the owner, with the property. So if the property is sold, we would get noticed and then it would transfer over to the new owner. So what we have here tonight is a 174-unit market rate housing project. I think that everyone is actually familiar with. This has been in the works for a little while, and the developer's really been trying hard to make this happen. The impact fees for this in total are $947,262. So that covers law enforcement, fire suppression, traffic circulation systems, storm drain systems, sewer collection facilities, and general government administration. And then there is a small fee for the deferral of the fees for each building. With that, if we defer this for a 10-year period with 3% interest, and we collect that, we amortize that out over the years, we'll have some income coming in. We won't get all of the fees right up front. Actually, we would be getting all the fees right up front. So what we would do is we would loan the fees to these funds from the general fund, and then the payments from the developer will pay back the general fund. So that way that all of the fees go directly into these projects, and we have the money available for projects, or into these fees, and we have the money available for projects now. So over the 10-year period, there would be an interest collected of $150,358 roughly, and so that the action requested tonight is to direct staff to execute or develop documents for the loan, for the deed of trust, and for the promissory note. Execute those documents and have them recorded with the developer. And the developer is here this evening if you'd like to ask him any questions. And that's the end of my report.
Okay.
Wait, okay.
All right. Okay, council questions. Councilman Weber's up in the queue first.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I couldn't be more pleased with this because I know that staff has been having conversations about this, and I also know that many of the city council members have expressed the same sort of desire, like what can we do to make this easier, right? So the question I basically have for you is, without deferring these fees, what are the will this project go forward?
Unlikely to go
Right.
forward. That's what the developers told us. And I can say, I've had conversations with him over 8 or 10 months. And I know that he's tried really hard to make this happen. This project was on the radar, was put on my radar when I first got here. I've talked with him several times about how this might occur. And so this is something that we kind of cooked up together. This is something that we can replicate if we can find another developer to come out and do a multi-unit market rate type of project. And as you can see, it's up on the screen there. His project is actually, it's really quite nice. He's got a dog park, he has a pool, he has a clubhouse, he has, I think you have pickleball too, right? You have pickleball? Yeah, so he's a very self-contained project there. We are recommending that we waive the park fees for this because he basically is building a park inside of his project.
Well, this is obviously an incredible and a market rate investment into our community, and the location is just going to be phenomenal,
Right.
there across the river. So, and I believe with all my heart that if we roll out the red carpet, so to speak, and we make it inviting and accessible for a developer like this man and others, and then we're going to invite more of that same market rate development in our community. So I couldn't be more pleased with this. That I know I've talked to you, Brian, about this specifically, saying what can we do to defer, right? So, and I'm sure that other council members are probably going to have the same sort of comments as well. So I'm in complete support of this.
He's promised to tell his friends that we're developer friendly.
Hmm?
He's promised to tell his friends that we're developer friendly.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Is he here?
Yeah.
Is that him right there? Hey, can we get that in writing then? Can we get that in writing then? Yeah.
All right, Councilman Goodson's next in the queue.
All right, so I'm going to play devil's advocate here, and you probably need to come up here.
Okay.
So, no doubt, we can all see the advantages.
Well, first off, let's welcome you and have your name.
My name's Chuck Tatro. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Councilman Goodson has a question.
The advantages, it provides financial flexibility to developers such as yourself. It stimulates our local economy. Construction projects, they generate jobs, right? And contribute to the local economy. It improves our housing diversity. Right now, we're like top heavy. We have, singing to the choir here.
Mm-hmm.
We do. We're top heavy on the affordable housing. So, long term, the city would earn
An extra $150,000 worth of interest from the 10-year deferral.
okay, and that's only if, because I see disadvantages. There's always a risk of non-payment.
So what comes along with this, and I was talking, you have two great administrators, by the way. They think outside the box and get creative, and we've been working on this, is the note doesn't go with me. The note goes with the property. So you guys could, as an entity,
We
foreclose
could
on the
lien,
property.
we
Yeah.
we can put a lien on that
Correct.
property. Yeah, but why are we even thinking of that? I mean, why are we discussing this?
So I brought some notes down here.
Because,
and
wait a minute, and here's my question, because I want you to tell me rock solid, there is never even a chance that this note would not be carried out to the specificity of the agreement. And so to the point where we wouldn't even have to question you not being in compliance with the safeguards.
Correct. So
Convince me.
One of the biggest advantages to doing it this way is not too long ago, when you owned the land, it was called your skin in the game. It was an 80% loan to value on a piece of property, and then the bank would give you a loan. Well, now they changed the rules. It's 70% loan to cost.
70% loan.
And so that's huge
Okay.
difference. So this project up here is a $33 million project. So I wrote down some notes, and so for 70% loan to cost, just to give you an example, so they will lend me 70%, I have to come in with $9 million
Okay.
to make this work. So by doing it this way, it doesn't become a cost to me, it becomes an expense of my asset.
Okay.
So therefore, my debt ratio coverage, this is good, this will get a little lost possibly, but hopefully you can follow me. So the bank wants a 1.25 debt ratio coverage.
All right.
That means you're making 25% over your expenses. By doing it this way, it changes my debt ratio coverage from 1.26 to 1.51. So in other words, it gives me a better ability to pay any expenses that are incurred with the project. So this is a great project. It has, I mean, Basic is gonna be a country club. There's gonna be an armed guard at the front gate. I mean, that literally, it's that day and age. I mean, I just have my
I
truck.
love the project.
Yeah.
I mean, it's phenomenal. Here's a question I know as a city council person, we're always gonna look at what the impact, when you do deferments, the impact on our city services, delayed collection of the fees, would it would affect our ability to continue to provide essential services like our law enforcement, fire, right? And let's say, for example, the project requires additional traffic signal installations. And so in the event that, because traffic's going to increase and there's going to be congestion, and then that's a cause for safety, right? So how would this deferred fees affect the city's ability to maintain and improve essential services?
I can answer that, Councilmember
can
Goodson.
answer
So the way that we're setting this up is that the general fund will actually loan the money to the category, to each of the deferment categories. So they will be made whole right away. And then what his payments will be doing is paying back the general fund with the interest.
So essentially, instead of us having money in a CD somewhere making X percent, we're having it in this property.
In this
for 3%
property,
over 10
right.
years.
And I think the advantage of the demographic that it is gonna be, I'm targeting the expansion of the hotel, or not, excuse me, the hospital, that hopefully will open soon.
Yeah.
Oh,
And that
yes.
they are very short on housing their professionals.
Oh, yeah.
So that was why I started doing this, and I did sell off part of it that did affordable, and that's kind of another note I wrote down here is, I built a lot of affordable apartments in the North State as well. It's kind of against my belief, but somebody else is gonna make the money, so I do still do those apartments. But what happened is, all this, they called it a waterfall of money after the disaster. That's what these affordable people call this. So what it did was, it increased the cost of building by 27% in this area. And so all my subcontractors, I had this budgeted down, I'll build this, I built 104 that I kept in Chico. It's right by Cal Park Drive, it's called Skyline Apartments.
Right.
I built those for $17 million, 104 units. So did the math, okay, I could build this for 26.5. Got the actual numbers back, $34 million. And so there has to be some participation. I don't want to participate in an affordable act, and then, because then it puts you in a whole new category. Then you're dealing with prevailing wage, you're dealing with
Right.
everything else where affordable is almost an oxymoron. And so I'm trying to do a true market rate project in Oroville that would be a pretty much centerpiece. And this talks about my project particularly. I think this should be a developer incentive program that the city of Oroville continues to do. I don't think this should just be my project, because there are other pieces of property that are very inviting that I'm looking at, down by the market where excuse me, it's been a long day, down by the market,
Lakeside, what, where?
the little market by the lake, I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank right now.
Lakeside Market, yeah.
Well, that's for sale on, I guess it would be the northwest
North side,
side of
yeah.
that. And that's zoned also for R3, which would be an amazing setting for apartments. And so I just kind of want to get the ball rolling. I have some other investors interested in also possibly building there as well.
So this project would get the ball rolling, because that was really my last concern. If we do for one, we have to do for all. So we're setting a precedence here, and deferring fees for this project. Future developers are going to come in asking and seeking for the similar type of arrangement. And is that going to potentially cause a huge financial strain on the city's general? That's not a question for you. That's a question for our city staff and Ruth, our finance director.
I understand. My suggestion would be that perhaps you put a term on this incentive program.
Okay.
A 3 to 5 year term on it.
Okay.
Because that way.
You're thinking outside the box.
Yes.
Brian and I considered also that maybe we put some sort of marker on there, like at a certain number of houses that are built or units that are built, something like that. We haven't really figured out how we might do that.
That's good.
You know, obviously the RENA numbers are
I
what we're
like that.
modeling off of. So, and ultimately, and I look to Ruth, but I mean, it's your call, but whether we want to do this, but if we have money invested in other avenues right now, and we're still going to be getting a monthly payment with this program, so we're still going to have that revenue coming in. It's just a matter of if we have any sort of specific need within that 10 years for that chunk of money. And obviously, we have needs, we have lots of needs. But
Right.
we also have a need for market rate housing, so is it worth it to defer?
So I have one more thing to say. I approve of this message.
I had one more note written down, and I would like to talk to Brian and Pat about this later. Councilmember Weber's idea with the self-paving, brilliant. That's the only way to get get around prevailing wage and actually fix your roads that need to be fixed. And I think that you can think about that on a bigger scale, but apparently that's not why I'm up here talking.
Before you leave, I have a couple questions for you. And I believe me, I'm supporting this, so my question isn't to tear this apart by any means at all, but have you had any experience with Mellows Roofs CFDs and compare this to Mellows Roofs, if you know what I'm talking about? Because we only have a couple in this county. I don't know if you've even experienced those.
I have not.
Okay. Mellows Roofs is a process that's kind of similar, but it's different in terms of the technique and the way it's done, and it also has an assignment to where the money goes. We have Mellows Roofs 2006-1 and 2006-2 out by the airport on 3 subdivisions. And it's the same kind of thing where, you know, the people with the real estate pay the bill. And we have to put a fire station out there based upon that. So I kind of like this one a little bit better because it's developer interest. I think a developer would, you know, latch onto this versus a Mellows Roofs, because I know in the Bay Area and even in Sutter and Yolo County, they have a number of developments that have the Mellows Roofs, and some of them even advertise no Mellows Roofs funding on this thing. So as a community facilities district that money goes directly, it's kind of like a maintenance district process. So I was just curious if you had any experience with that. I don't find that any different, because this county, the only Mellows Roofs exists are in Oroville. Nobody else has it. And we tried to get the county to do it for police and fire protection, and they didn't do it. So we have that in place now. So I look to the future of this agreement as being a great incentive for the process, and it's definitely thinking outside the box.
Yeah.
I think it will draw a lot to your community. And, you know, I know there's some larger companies thinking about coming to the area, and it's, you know, but they're saying there's not enough housing. Well, then they're saying you're not gonna build housing because there's not enough business.
Right.
So it's like, what comes first, chicken or the egg?
Right.
If you have any more questions to me, I'm developing 92 lots over here off of 10th and,
Orchard Crest.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm doing those lots as well for the community.
Right. Well, Oroville is in a unique position. We have the real estate, we have the water, we have the sanitation capability. We're ready for more.
Yeah.
You have the land.
And we have the land, which is the big question. In 2006, we had 9,000 lots on tentative maps in the Oroville area. I'm sure you're well aware of that.
Some of those were mine that I gave back to the bank.
Yes, exactly. So, but at the same time, as we look for market rate housing, I appreciate you having the interest in investing in Oroville. We hope you're going to be the lead developer that'll follow more behind you, because I think this community is rich and ripe for this activity. We need house. 40 years ago, this community made a strategic interest on getting commercial activities and creating the jobs here. Well, the mistake then was jobs don't pay the bills. What pays the bills is you spend money where you live.
Yep.
That's what pays the bills, and we made a big mistake years ago about that. Now we're trying to right that mistake and getting the rooftops, if I use a short term, to get the money here and the people here. So I appreciate your interest and I appreciate your investment. Thank you. Councilman Weber's next in the queue.
Yeah, I have a couple more observations. I think this is definitely if you build it, they will come scenario like you were talking about. If you're talking about building market rate housing that is going to be appealing to a certain demographic with more disposable income, then not only have we built a vessel that generates property tax every year, but then it's going to be occupied by a bunch of people with that disposable income to potentially spend it right here, which also raises our tax revenues as well. So I think it's a build it if you will come scenario. Thank you for the compliment on the paving. I definitely would like to see that grow into something greater later, but you got to kind of start smaller. But I have a question for Belzer on this issue too. You get a lot of calls to service up on that bluff, don't you?
I was going to talk on that when you talk about taking this area and developing it. I mean, this is a blessing for police department, the fire department, code enforcement, social services. That this is a huge drain on our services, this area.
There is an amazing amount of encampments up there, and I can only imagine what your guys' calls to service are there.
Yeah. And you can clear them out, we can tow the cars away, and within a month, it's right back.
It's constant.
So, yeah.
Constant.
I think that we've met out there multiple times,
We have.
and it's unbelievable. I mean, we put cement barricades up.
Yep.
Yeah.
And pinned them down with a backhoe with a 6-foot rod, and they get them out of the ground.
Some people have all day to destroy your stuff.
And all night.
Yeah, true enough.
They do work graveyards.
So this is like almost like answer prayer for
Vice Mayor Smith is in the
absolutely.
queue real quick for a question.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to give kudos to Patrick, Community Development Director, for just, brainstorming the concept of the deferment idea. I think this is a wonderful way to, encourage that type of investment, and folks like you. I do think it's important to establish a number, because what I'm hearing you say is that the one-off, the small-time not developer, they're builders, right? When they're doing like one-offs or a couple. So they might feel like they're getting, not included. I guess it's a management issue essentially at the end of the day.
Actually, what we meant by a cutoff, and I'd love to have the credit, but this really was, it's Chuck and Brian and I, we've been putting our heads together for a while to come up with this. But our idea was more of a cap on how many units, to say we hit 100 or 200, 300 units, whatever that number might be of market rate housing, and then we close it down after that. Something like that. So it could be a smaller builder could do this as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the other.
Not that big of a builder.
Really?
I was a licensed contractor, and you're way above my league. So, and I just appreciate the investment, and then this is exciting stuff, especially when we think about quality of life issues for those that are going to come and work and live here. When we think about the professionals at the hospital and other opportunities, I think, that are coming to Oroville. That being said, I also wanted to speak to, we're essentially giving you a loan on our fees. So really, the actual cost to the city of dollars even though we're talking about the general budget, it's really not as much as one might think. We're actually making money on our own fees that we're charging, so it's a win-win for the
It's
city.
not a cost to the city. if
It's
you-
not
is
really.
one way-
Yeah, there's no
right.
cost.
We're
We're just-
actually,
we're just-
it's a business proposition.
It's
We're
a
making
absolutely.
$150,000.
And so the idea that somehow we're out $900,000, it's just paper.
Right. Well, and with the
So-
people that come, they'll be supporting the businesses, they'll be paying taxes and all that stuff. So that reward keeps on coming.
Yeah, so it's brilliant. I love it. So thank you.
I would suggest, though, that if we do put a cap on it, or I'm helping now. If there is a cap on it, I do suggest that you revisit it, because I think this could be a very good thing for growth, continuous in Orville. And it can bring a lot more market rate to the area.
I do have a question for you, though, for you personally. So, as you know, we're not the only entity you got to deal with. Parks, and then schools, school fees.
Oh, I'm a bigger builder than I let on to be. Yeah, so I know.
So is there any horsepower there? Are they interested in?
No,
any-
the school fees, there's never any traction anywhere.
Okay.
I mean, so those I'll have to pay. Those are roughly, I think, $450,000.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, it's not cheap.
No.
But, you know, it is what it is. So I'm just saying, if I can get that 9 million to 8, and then I can get my land value back out of it, and so it's a numbers game. And to be honest with you, I have 2 other partners that are minor partners, but they feel that Oroville is a risk, and I'm telling them it's not. This is the next place to build.
So we should get a thank you letter from Orville Elementary City School District and from the high school and from the Parks District for helping you come in and feed their coffers. All right, I've said enough.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm back in the queue. A couple just technical questions, just because of the insurance issues we got in. Mr. Ring talked about the wildland urban hazard zones. Your exterior components on the building, are you planning to use non-combustible exterior siding?
All cement siding.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
Because that's going to be an issue for any new thing built with the rules that are coming in from the state. And I just wanted to ask that question because that makes for the viability of the building and the insurability, which is the next step coming into play here. And
Insurability for these, I haven't even crossed that bridge yet, but
Yeah.
I know the ones I have in Chico, the ones that I own in Chico, they just left out of California, gave me a notice that they are no longer gonna insure my property
yeah.
or anything in California.
Well, and I have a keen interest in this, not only the components that you're using for it, but there's now a new paint that is fire retardant paint that can use on the exterior that actually will stop a fire from burning your house down. So there's a lot of new technical issues out there. It's called an intumescent paint. So there's a lot of things we'll talk about later, and I'll chat with you. But I only bring that up because we have to pay attention to that and make sure your project is insurable for the future. It also is an example, I'll play, when we had the car dealership here, we ended up giving them a loan for their property, and the payback of the loan was to increase the sales tax. And there was a benchmark, and so much sales tax was increased in a 3 or 4 year period, and that paid back the loan. So that's another innovative way we did in the past. This is kind of the same innovation that I like to greatly talk about, because I think it's kind of the best of both worlds in the process, because, you know, we live in a very difficult area. California is the toughest place in the world to do anything, doesn't matter what it is. Even if you want to go pitch a tent, now you have to satisfy other requirements that I won't even get into. But again, I just appreciate that and appreciate the conversation. We'll talk more.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Pardon?
I'd have to look at the site design. This is not my only project.
Yeah.
I believe there's at least a
Yeah.
couple. There's a basketball court. There's many playing fields. There's horseshoe pits. There's, I think, 6 picnic areas. So it's kind of it's all self-contained little area.
What do you foresee as the homeowners association fees?
No HOA.
No.
These are apartments.
What?
These are for rent
yes.
apartments.
Okay.
No,
Thank you.
So I rebuilt the bluffs when those were abandoned years ago.
Yeah.
And I will never do an HOA.
Yeah.
How do you have a man entrance?
Ma'am, we're going to have to move forward. Thank you. I appreciate your question. but-
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to make one more real quick comment.
Yeah.
So, because you're adjoining DWR property with that project?
I'm sorry?
DWR, you're adjoining state project, property. And so I just want to plant a seed of thought. One of the things that I talked about with the state in there, because they've expanded their property, down to the bridge, and to create a botanical garden, public open space. So just a thought for that, and they're very good about policing their space. So it's just a thought, just to plant that
I
seed
believe
for
you guys
additional
hired Greg
open
Melton
space.
to do some design on that, and he's my landscape architect, so I
Yeah.
will see how we can incorporate.
I think it would be a cool concept to create more,
Right.
public space for our community as a whole. And so just
Yeah.
a thought.
Awesome.
Thank you all.
thank you.
Tonight, folks, we're not approving this project yet. It'll come back to us. We're just approving the deferment issue. So there'll be a lot more questions for a lot of activities in this. This will come back to the council soon. Okay, what's the action requested here? Right. Before we vote, do we have any cards on this?
The only one we had, Mr. Mayor, was from Chuck himself.
Okay, all right, thank you. I just wanted to make sure. Please call the roll.
I need a second on the motion. Thank you.
I'll second that. Did we send a letter of support for this? Did we? No, okay. Got my vote.
Motion passes with 5 yeses, 1 recusal, and 1 absent.
Did you go get our councilman back? Okay. Next item, number 12, Hewitt Park update. Council, do we need to take 5 minutes?
No.
We're going to take a 5-minute break real quick, all right? You can get yourself ready. We're all in a 5-minute break. In 5 minutes, we'll come back to a regular meeting, all right?
Mr. Weber, could you please come to the front?
All right, we'll call the meeting back to order, and next item up is number 12, Hewitt Park update. And would you introduce yourself, Tim?
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members. I'm Tim Caber. I'm project manager and senior civil engineer for the Hewitt Park project. I will be building 8 pickleball courts.
There you go.
This concludes my presentation.
What else do we need to know, huh?
When I wrote the staff report, there was 2 RFPs, requests for proposals, out for bid. One was for the construction of Hewitt Park. One was for construction management of Hewitt Park project. Since I wrote this, one of them is closed. Construction project bids were received last Tuesday. We had 5 bidders, and they ranged anywhere from 5.1 million to about 7.8 million. The apparent low bidder when bid opening was done was 4.5 million. However, there was a math error conferred with the attorney. We're able to increase their bid amount by, they left out a base bid. It was on the back page. It didn't get transferred up to the front page. Luckily, they're still the low bidder.
Okay.
So it's going to be about 5.15 million or so. I want to talk a little bit about the financials of the current project, and then I'll go into the timelines. So the bid that is apparent low is 5.163 million. The design effort was 467,000. And the equipment that we pre-purchased is $960,000. So all in, right now, that's 6.59 million. This is before the construction management RFP closes next Monday. I'll have a more solid number on that. I don't want to advertise a number right now because maybe they're listening online. We have a grant from the state of 4.584 million. So right now, the potential bogey is 2 million. However, we have money in the park impact fee, and that should be more than enough to cover any overages, should y'all authorize that.
How much is in that?
It's $2.8 million.
2.8? Thank you.
Getting into the timeline of these projects, I want to award both of them at the same time. They're complementary, the construction management and the construction, because the construction management is going to be key for us to really prosecute this construction project and document and get reimbursement from the state. So we can get 100% reimbursement of that grant from the state. We just have to outlay the money first, but I have to document. Nothing counts if it's not documented. So I would target at the earliest 2 more council meetings, so the second one in March. That gives me time because I can't make the cutoff. By next Monday is when I get the RFPs and then evaluate on all those things. However, we got good bids. The construction bids are good. The apparent bidder, the apparent low bidder, the documents look good, and I just have to route those for approval, and I'll be doing that here in the next couple weeks. The project is 200 working days, so depending on when it gets awarded, wherever those federal holidays or the state holidays are, wherever the city of Oroville holidays are, that will add, day here, day there, depending. Looking at ribbon cutting sometime in December, January timeframe, which is a great time to do a ribbon cutting on a splash pad. However, there's a dry element, there's the athletic courts, there's the horseshoes. I don't have bocce ball courts. I'll leave those to the golf course. But I think this project is going to be great. I've heard great things about the contractor that won, and I look forward to working with them and delivering a top-notch project to the citizens of Oroville and really making great use of that space that we have there. I think it's going to be awesome. Subject to any questions?
Council?
Trying to pull a bear plunge?
You're red.
No.
Councilman Weber's in the queue.
Yeah, I think this is yet another example of an investment that's going to really elevate our community, given that this park is literally centrally located right in the middle of town. And then I just also wanted to reiterate the desire to honor our ex-council person, Chrissy Riggs, in that she really spearheaded and pushed for this so hard. So when we do have the ribbon cutting ceremony, I would love to see her be able to, cut that ribbon because she did spearhead this project with such passion and zeal. So I'm super excited to see this unfold.
Any other councilman?
I'm stoked.
Yeah. To me, it's finishing an unfinished park. Hewitt Park has always been unfinished. I mean, it's like.
That's true.
Where's everything at? So this is a very forward step toward this process, and looks great. Do we have any cards on this? Public cards?
We do not, sir.
Councilman Reynolds?
Yes, sir. We grew up going to this park, and it's always been a big deal to us. And I think it was about nearly 20 years ago, me and my wife would always walk in the evenings. We were walking through, and we seen that the newly built restrooms were very plain, nothing on them. So me and my wife donated $20,000 to the park to upgrade the aesthetics of it, and our name is on that plaque on that restroom area. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing this park refurbished, because it was where we had all of our family reunions, all of our gatherings. So, thank you.
Make sure.
Okay.
Just want to see, is that Barbara in back?
Yes.
I'd like to give Barbara a thanks. She's been very vocal and offering a lot of help on this project.
I don't doubt that one bit.
Can I just say,
Yes.
one of my Rotary group presentations,
That's
you
true.
were there, Mr. Mayor, and you weren't mayor at the time. But I could never forget, after I went through this whole thing, and he kind of raised his hand, and I said, yes, and he said, Hewitt. And I said, what's a Hewitt? I had no idea, and how under the radar this wonderful location is. I mean, it's going to be great.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we thank you, Barbara, for all your time and effort.
And thank you, Tim.
Okay, cool. All right, so we just accept information on that one. We're ready to go. And I think we have good consensus that utilizing the park impact fees is a great idea. Just looking at the body here, so we'll look forward to that coming forward. Next item is number 13, financial analysis fiscal year in June 30, 2024.
That's me. Good evening, Mayor Pittman and council members. Am I on?
There you go, better,
Is that better?
yeah. No, it's not working.
Not working.
Microphone for her.
Hello?
There we go.
There it is, there you go.
Okay, good evening again. I just wanted to update you on our fiscal year 23-24. We ended the year with a $3.4 million deficit. I don't want you to be too concerned about that deficit because we planned a deficit in the district tax fund of about $4 million, but we ended up with a $1.5 million. Again, that's a common occurrence with this fund, but we have been budgeting deficits in the district tax fund because we are accumulating a fund balance, and we don't want to. We want to leave that at zero as much as we can. But in the general fund, we had a deficit of $1.9 million, and it's all attributable to one-time expenditures. Most of it, so 1.45 of it is just expending out one-time monies that we received in the past, the local fiscal recovery funds that we received in prior years. We purchased the courtyard, And we did 450 for the 162 road projects. So that was just one-time money that was in prior years that we pushed back out. And then we did a loan for $750,000 that we will see that coming back at some point. So it does show a $1.5 million deficit in the general fund, but without those one-time expenditures, we would have had a $300,000 surplus. So it's still a surplus, but it's low. It's getting lower. Last year we had a $700,000 surplus. So don't want you to be so concerned about this year, but definitely we need to be concerned about future years. Our revenues are staying stagnant. Our expenditures are growing very fast. So that'll be a discussion that we have this budget year, is in that process of creating the budget, we're going to do a 5-year forecast. So that should be very eye-opening, how fast our expenditures are going to be catching up with our stagnant revenues. So more to come on that, but I'm not too concerned about last year. Our debt, we ended with our $17 million pension obligation bond balance, and the maturity date is 6/1/2040. And then we have $9.8 million due to our successor agency bonds, and the maturity date is 9/1/31. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Council, any questions? I think, Ruth, we all appreciate your detailed analysis and very helpful to make us understand what's going on. Do we have any cards on this, Cal?
We do not, Mr. Mayor.
And it's information received. Any other questions? We move forward. Thank you, Ruth.
You're welcome. There was 2 attachments to my staff report if anybody wants additional information.
Gotcha.
So the next staff report is mine as well. It's a mid-year financial review. This is catching us all the way up through December. Nothing out of the ordinary on this one. I am asking for 2 budget adjustments. The first one is for insurance. Wow, insurance over the last 5 years, we cannot budget this correctly at all. Even with our best estimates, it's more than we're budgeting. So I'm asking for a budget adjustment of $200,000 for risk management. That's just our liability insurance. And also, I would like to increase the city attorney's budget by $400,000. We really had a lot of litigation in the prior year, and it seems to be continuing, so under budgeted there as well. Those are the only 2 budget adjustments I'm asking for at this time. Everything else, the revenues seem to be right on track, but again, the only revenue source in the district tax fund is sales tax, and there's actually a small decrease in sales tax last year, and it looks like for the next couple years, we're going to continue to see it decline, maybe 1%, but still, it's not going up. It's just very stagnant. So we're going to need to really keep that in mind when we budget this year. And so I just updated the balance on our pension obligation bond, is $17 million, and successor agency bond, $8.6 million. So that takes us through the end of December. And also with that one, I have attached financials on that, but it's by department, so you can see how each department is doing stacked up next to their budget. And with that, I'm only asking for 2 budget adjustments.
Any questions of council? Entertain a motion if so desired.
I'll make a motion. Appropriate the expenditures, right?
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Motion passes with 5 yeses and 1 absent. I'm sorry, correction, 6 yeses and 1 absent.
Item number 15, City Municipal Code Update and Ad Hoc Committee Formation.
Yes, this item was put on the agenda from, I know Councilmember Weber initiated it, and I think a number of council members piggybacked on and supported it being on the agenda, so I'll turn it over to Councilmember Weber.
Oh,
Oh, I just wanted to know, is this similar to, we had an ad hoc committee for the charter? Is this as similar to the ad hoc committee that we were on?
Oh.
Charter
Right.
review.
Yes, the
The charter.
ad hoc committees are for a defined purpose and for a defined period of time. So yes, it would be very similar to that.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
I decline membership. I just wanted- Woo, we spent like 6 months on that chart. I'm sorry.
Councilman Weber's in the queue.
Thank you. This was actually brought onto the agenda by myself and Councilmember Johnstone and the mayor. But it was an idea that was actually presented to me by one of our valued citizens who happens to be here. Her name's Natalie Sheridan, and also John Zilich and their team that want to work on this issue. And the question was, would you be willing to examine our code to identify overburdensome or restrictive language that can perhaps with best intentions, but inhibit the forward path to yes, to what it may look like to open a business or to do further development in our community. So the importance of doing a deep dive into our code will help foster an environment of economic growth and development. And what's important to fostering growth is finding a path to yes, right? So, and like I said, we have a wonderful staff. Pat and his team do a great job. But sometimes there's roadblocks that are standing in the way that would prevent them from being able to say, well, hey, here's a practical path to yes, but because there's something that stands in the way, there's some, maybe in the eyes of the person that's trying to open a business, there's overburdens and fees that may be associated with certain aspects of opening the business. So that's why I would like to appeal to the council to consider forming this ad hoc committee led by these great citizens, and I think it's such a good idea. And then to you, Natalie and John and the team, all of you there, I applaud your desire to take time out of your busy schedule to dedicate yourself to the betterment of our great city, because this, like Councilmember Goodson just pointed out, it's a lofty
lengthy
endeavor
process,
to do
yes.
something like this. So I applaud you. I initially had talked about maybe myself being on that committee as well, but I don't think that would be, I think it would be better if it's the council's desire that we form it and give them the authority, right, to do a deep dive into it, come back with the findings, bring it to the full council, with Pat Pyatt acting as a liaison advisor as well, and giving them advice and counsel on how to proceed. But if that's the council's will, that's kind of like the what I had envisioned, and I know Councilmember Johnstone and I had talked about it, and then Mayor Pittman and I too. So there's my pitch, if you will. So,
Councilman, let's see, Goodson, are you back in the queue?
No, I am not.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm trying to, who else do we have? Weber, you've already been in it? Yeah, okay. I'm just trying to keep my maintenance of the queue going here. Councilman Reynolds is in the queue.
I have a question. Is it the entire code, or is there some specific area that you're targeting, or?
Do you want me to give my?
Can you step up to the
Yeah,
microphone?
this would be the right time to do it.
I would answer Councilmember Reynolds' question and then give your, okay?
Yeah.
If you,
Come on up, Natalie.
Okay, to answer the question, starting with opening a business, pulling your business license, just the business section of the code.
Okay.
Because you're right, it's a big code.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, thank you.
Okay, so that's what we're trying to do, is make a smoother path forward in
Yes.
opening a business. Okay.
Yes, if
I'm
I-
in agreement with that,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Go ahead, Natalie.
okay, thank you. Good evening, council. My name is Natalie Sheard, and as the president of the ODBA and a planning commissioner, I have heard from many entrepreneurs and small business owners that our code and licensing requirements and processes can be very cumbersome and difficult to navigate. Obviously, that is not your intention. That is not our city's intention. Specifically, this council is very pro-business, and we really want to encourage successful businesses. However, the codes and the processes do need to be streamlined in order to make that goal a reality. There is a divide between the intention of our codes and how they actually affect the businesses. To bridge this gap and to advocate for existing and new businesses, a small group of residents and myself have formed a business advocacy committee. And our mission is simply to empower new and existing small businesses towards successful, sustainable growth through responsible, streamlined, minimal regulations. It's a big job, and it takes loving codes and reading codes and diving into codes. But also, more importantly, it takes knowing what it's like on the other side and over the counter at City Hall as a customer. And we are all residents and small business owners. Codes can be very well intended, but the way they work out in the real world with a real applicant can actually hurt the very entities they're supposed to protect. So the committee members are John and Jesse Zilich, Eric Shanky, Marcia Henderson, and myself. And yes, we are asking if you would allow us, we would love to be sanctioned by this council to be an ad hoc committee to evaluate the current codes and fees that impact new and existing businesses. And we would like to also specifically request that Patrick, our Community Development Director, be our liaison as we navigate through the code and work with staff to recommend qualified changes for your consideration. So in conclusion, we are passionate lovers of Oroville. We're willing to work very hard to give you information and code change recommendations so you can empower our small business community. And we would serve at your pleasure and at your discretion. And if approved, we would look forward to getting to work. So thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that, Natalie. I think, quick question, ad hoc committees, if they have two, you don't have to have if you have three, do you have to have a public meeting?
No. So an ad hoc committee is composed of something less than 4 council members, maybe citizens. And a limited duration.
Okay.
So they don't have meeting noticing requirements. You should keep minutes because they're advisory and they want to make sure that they give you, clear stuff, but it's not formal and it's not, governed by the Bond Act. That's helpful.
Yeah, that helps answer the question. Councilman Reynolds?
Yeah, you know what, I really appreciate this because this was really one of my passion things a few years ago, and so what we did in asking a lot of people, why don't you want to come to Oroville? We had found out that the process was flawed, and the fees were people were telling me that they were more than the surrounding areas. So I had asked for a comparative rate study on fees and that, and found out that City of Oroville and SCORE were actually charging quite a bit more than the surrounding areas. So they actually had voted on, I recused myself, and they voted on lowering the rates. And that was a good thing, but I think it kind of, everybody has their projects, and then when people change seats and that, things happen and things don't happen. But I'm really glad to see you picking up that ball because it's very important. We have to be, and in order to attract new businesses, we have to be ready to take care of the existing ones too. And I think that's a lot of what's going on, because the developers or the business owners, who their friends are to that would bring businesses to Oroville are other developers or business owners. And these conversations don't happen in a boardroom. They happen on the golf course or on a fishing trip. And, hey, how do you like Oroville? And the influential people can either say, hey, it's great, or they can say, don't do it. And of course, we want them to say it's great. And I'm really happy that you're picking that up, Natalie. Thank you.
Vice Mayor Smith is in the queue.
Yeah, I'm sitting here just
Rotate.
digesting the conversation, debating whether or not I want to ask the council to include me in to this process. It's just another thing on my plate. Partly it's just because of my world. You know, for example, I work with the college, SBDC. We have Ron come over and provide trainings free for new businesses to, tackle Orville, hopefully with success. And also with Sophie over at SBDC as well out of Chico. So I'm just in that world, and I'm very acquainted with some of those complexities and challenges. But maybe some input from my colleagues as to whether, I'd be willing to step in and do that. I think I could.
Do the hard work. We're willing to bring it all to you.
And
Yeah.
I think we want to remain independent and objective.
So that's partly what I was fishing for. But thank you. Maybe we'll just allow you guys to do the work and then bring it back. I got the picture.
Well, Councilman Goodson's in the queue.
No, I was really going to give you an attaboy. And and I was going to nominate you.
Yeah, I just work with
We really
people,
wanna
obviously,
do
in that
this.
world, and I think I could add a lot of context.
I think when we bring recommendations, you would be right there. I mean, it would all has to be approved by your committee.
No, I understand.
Definitely want to have the opportunity to ask
Right.
you for advice.
Yeah.
And direction.
So at this point, I'm seeing Councilman Johnstone, Vice Mayor Smith, and Councilman Weber as the ad hoc committee members from my perspective, correct?
Congratulations.
Yeah, I think
Well, no, the city council ad hoc committee members, and then with the private members too. All the ones that you named would be, the only parameters I'd like to put on this is that we see something in 120 days. I don't want to see it, linger on.
We should be.
And then
Want a city.
I
have,
think they want, council.
oh, do you want to bring it back to us? Okay.
Yeah, we are entrepreneurs and residents. And
Okay.
so we'd want to just dive in from that perspective. And I guess kind of just the clarity and honesty that we would be able to have. And also, we want to also be able to really invite public at our meetings to come in and say, I had this horrible
Gotcha. Okay.
experience. And it's all meant to bridge this divide and mend it. But I think we could do a better job if we're kind of not political, but private at the beginning. But then it's all up to you what you want to do with what we recommend.
Okay, well, I even like that better because you're volunteering to work, and every one of these council members have a lot of things on their plate to do.
Absolutely. I'm not bringing you more work.
But what I would ask is that you have your meetings posted so any one of
Yep.
us could attend and participate
Oh, yeah.
whenever. And I would encourage, our staff to participate, of course, Patrick and Brian, and I'd even include Mr. Belser in the code enforcement because those are things that help us in the process.
Ron would love to be in my committee.
We'll wait till we get done with all the regular business before I.
And I'm just putting that as an ad thing, and then plus, once you do bring it through, I would prefer to see all of that stuff brought
Prior to.
prior to, and then
Yes.
we would want our
That's what we were
staff
thinking.
and city attorney to look at all the
Totally.
things, what we legally can do and can't do. So,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, we want to bring you a vetted product for consideration.
So do I see that as council consensus? That be the plan?
Yes.
We need a motion?
Can the format be strike change?
Sure.
Can we?
What,
I have a-
she has,
Yeah,
a-
but is there any other?
she has a quick suggestion
I have
that,
a suggestion. We have an executive committee, perhaps with your findings, and just kind of have somebody to process that before it goes to full council. Bring it to the executive committee.
I think that's a good plan, because then it kind of gets weeded out before the full
Right.
council throws everything down.
Okay.
Councilman Weber?
Yeah, I was just gonna echo what you just said. Again, I think under the current of formation, I have the desire to see that group of individuals take the reins and run with it, under the advice as the liaison and advisor of Pat, and of course, consulting too, whether or not it could be. And then once it comes back, then I think the suggestion by Councilmember Goodson to take it to executive committee with the suggestions would probably be the way to do it. But I have the desire, me personally, I want to see that form, that group right there, and let them just do the work.
Okay. That makes
Councilman,
sense.
Vice Mayor Smith is in the queue.
I just want to add a little context to my comments. And just for clarity, I am very skeptical of the bureaucratic system. I am very pro-business. However, I get the visual context, and so I appreciate what you're going to do and the work that you're going. I was looking in the context of adding another depth of dimension. However, I appreciate what you're going to do and the work, and so I just want to clear the air, so to speak. Yeah. So.
Are you on the executive committee?
I am.
Yes, he is. That's why.
Yeah. So, but I want you to be able to work and converse and feel free to, throw us under the bus and stomp on us without feeling that, that somebody's looking over. I get it. And so, but I want you to know we're on your team. And we all desperately want to find pathways to streamline
Absolutely.
this.
To make
And
this
so it's awesome. So
user-friendly.
appreciate you. And I want you to be able to freely talk and converse. Yes.
Which is true.
Real quick.
Yeah.
City Administrator Ring, can you please repeat that last comment about strike through, please? Because it was a savior when we were doing the charter. I mean, it's very important.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Yeah, my comment was if we get the document and then you produce it in the strike-through change, so any changes that you make,
Right.
you can see what was easily,
Right.
was there
Redline
before,
it.
and what's
Yeah.
recommended. So if you do it after the fact, it's a nightmare.
Yeah.
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 Well,
Oh,
you
okay.
someone should probably give us a list. I mean, I'm writing down what you're telling me, but it seems like I should have this written somewhere, right?
One of the advantages of WordPerfect is it has strike through, and we can all use that. Yeah.
Okay, I think I got it. We
Okay.
took those.
If there's any changes, you're gonna have to publicly notice, and the public's gonna wanna see what was there before
Right.
versus what's being proposed.
Yeah.
So
And-
I've changed, I've worked on many
Right.
committees doing that.
Councilman Goodson, are you in the queue?
No, please take me out.
All right.
Mr. Mayor, we
Yes.
do have one other commenter on
Oh.
this item,
Okay.
Brian Wong.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor and city councilors, I think we have strong support for this item already. So anyway, I guess I'll speak my piece too. So anyway, I'm speaking in strong support of the ad hoc community. I just want to give everybody here a sense of like some of the challenges that we face as we refurbish some of the old buildings downtown and actually trying to put business in them. The process is actually very challenging. The cost right now is tough to make anything pencil, so every bit counts. Staff has been amazing, and since a lot of the changes that we've implemented, Patrick and his team helped with the beginning of the process. But at the same time, when you look at there's the building code that we go with today, there's also the historical code. And so when you look at a lot of our buildings, it's historic.
That's true.
So how do you balance the historic nature versus the current code? I'll give everybody in the room here a concrete example. Right now, I'm having an argument with my own designer over this device. It's called the ERV, or they have another system. It's basically getting fresh air into the building. This is like, I didn't know why we need this thing in the past. We didn't have to have it, but now because of this thing, for each level of the building that we have, we're gonna add like about $12,000 of cost, or more than 12,000. So this device, what it does is it mixes fresh air.
Air filter.
Yes. But when you look at the historical nature of our building, it was designed to be vented. And then also inside the business, we're a cafe. We're going to be a cafe. So the doors are constantly opening and closing. So then the question is, well, is it really needed? And so when I have this very common sense argument with my designer, he goes, Brian, why are you even arguing? It's part of the code. You have to follow the code. So just take it like a man and be quiet.
Take it like a man.
Yes. And I'm thinking like, well, yes, that's going to add $25,000 to the cost of this project. And the building was never designed to have the system because the building has vents in the basement, it's vented, it was designed to be vented. That's the nature of this building.
Right, it's historical.
Yeah, so as a matter of fact, we had this argument again this morning. So with that said, what do we balance the historical code to the new building code? And then in such a way that, you know, we do actually the best things for the downtown, keep the historical nature of our buildings and the essence of, hey, these old buildings, but having definitely the life safety requirements that we need, you know, from today. So, thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
That was really enlightening.
Yeah,
I
that's cool.
caught a visual of that.
Yeah.
All right, you sold me. I want to be on the committee.
Yeah. All right. So on this item, we've directed staff. Any questions? We're good to go.
Good job.
Thank you, folks.
Thank
We
you for
appreciate your
bringing
efforts.
this.
Yeah.
this- Excellent.
Item number 16, employment contract amendment with Ron Belser, Director of Code Enforcement.
Gee. No.
All right, Brian.
I make a motion we approve.
Yeah.
Second, third.
Do we have any comment cards?
Mr. Mayor, we do not.
All right, call the roll.
Motion passes, 6 yeses, 1 absent.
That
All right.
that took 30 seconds.
Yes, we're learning. Okay, next. Thank you, Ron.
We're so proud of you.
Yeah.
We are. I love our team.
Yeah. Public communication hearing of non-agenda, do we have any non-agenda items here at this moment?
I have none, Mr. Mayor.
All right, future agenda items from the council, any future agenda items? Looking at up and down, don't see any.
Mayor.
Yes, oh, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
Councilman Weber.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to revisit that pavement management team and see if there was an appetite from the council for us to discuss that further, and then maybe build and develop that team.
I would look forward to staff giving us a recommendation on that. Look forward to a future agenda item. That'd be a great idea. I think it,
If we can dig into it a little bit at the staff level and then see what I think it'd be prudent just to wait for the budget if just see where the budget's at for the next fiscal year. Because it's right around the corner.
Yeah, because we have to really be fiscally responsible here. We're getting.
Start working toward the build now.
correspondence, this issue of the official petition to council members. I'm looking at, under correspondence, what is that issue? I'm having to recall myself here. Was that the,
That was a letter that had come in from, a
Letter
letter
received?
received from
Okay.
constituents.
so we don't need to take any action? The next item here, folks, is adjournment of this meeting. So this meeting will be adjourned to the next regular meeting of Orville City Council to be held on March 4th, 2025 at 4 p.m. Folks, thank you for sticking it out. We are adjourned.
We survived.
We survived.